604, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing, starting you off at 76 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge on what will be a busy Monday morning. Mostly because we're taking a look back on a busy Friday, to be sure, or at least in hour one, we will be doing that. We had a lot of ground to cover, y'all. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. was in town on Friday. We'll have some audio from the bill signing that he was at. We will hear from State Senator Patrick McMath, whose bill was signed. We'll check in our 7 o'clock hour with Will Green from LABI. What is the latest on LA Driven? I can't wait for that segment because we're going to run through a whole ton of bills there. And, hour three. Of course, we'll check in with Moon in hour three, but we will also have Wade Evans, Central's mayor, in the house, which is always a good time. They got a lot going on in Central. We'll break that down as the show wears on. Right now, though, let's start off with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Well, Barry continues to be a nothing name for named storms, as what was Tropical Storm Barry is now the remnants of Barry. Never a bother over here. It formed basically in the Bay of Campeche and then just rolled on into Mexico and did absolutely no damage along the way. Right now, it's moving northwest about 12 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 30 miles per hour. Barry is storm number 2 of the Atlantic hurricane season as it stands right now, covering Florida and on up, a little bit into the Gulf and a little bit into the Atlantic. There is what is now a disturbance with a 20% chance of becoming a named storm. This thing, it looks like if you took out a map and put a kidney bean long ways over Florida, that's what this disturbance looks like. 20% chance over the next 7 days, 0% chance of forming into a storm over the next 2 days. So we'll check back in on this one Wednesday.
Number 4.
Louisiana has its first West Nile case of 2025. An 84-year-old woman from Denham Springs contracted West Nile earlier this month. She is actually still recovering.
Number 3.
LSU's moving forward with a plan to build a new dorm complex that'll allow an additional 1,200 people on campus. It's a $215 million plan to build a new South Quad dorm for first-year students. It was approved by the LSU Board of Supervisors on Friday. Now, while it's called the South Quad dorm, it's being built in Touchdown Village East Lot. That's right across from the engineering and business schools, which used to be known as SEBA, but now they're 2 separate buildings.
Number 2.
Law officers chased a man accused of drag racing from Baton Rouge to Denham Springs late Friday night, ending in a violent crash. BRPD attempted to stop 23-year-old Kane Mamadou for drag racing near the intersection of North Sherwood Forest and South Choctaw just before midnight. Officers chased the driver onto I-12. He exited at Range Avenue. Mamadou crashed into another vehicle and fled the scene on foot. He was quickly captured by police.
Number 1.
Man was brought to the hospital after being shot in the leg during a domestic dispute Sunday afternoon, officials said. East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's deputies responded to a domestic incident between a husband and wife on Pascagoula Drive around 1 p.m. Sunday. Sources said that during the dispute, a gun accidentally went off. The man was shot in the leg. Sheriff's office said both the husband and wife were arrested on domestic abuse charges. Accidentally went off? Accidentally went off?
Things like that happen.
No,
right?
3 times a week in the Haldane house.
All right, all the time.
Man.
All the time. In other news, the U.S. Senate continues to work on the president's big, beautiful bill as lawmakers hope to have everything wrapped up before the 4th of July.
So they're going to clock in at 9, and I believe they're just going to clock in and vote, and then bing, bang, boom.
Here, yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom, betty boop. It's over with?
That's it.
Okay. All right.
Well, no, yeah.
And then we'll all be left to sift through it all, figure it all out. Who's right, who's wrong.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
You look thrilled. You look thrilled about this.
This is what's going to be all week. This is what's going to be all week this week.
Right.
Is sifting through this garbage. And not just sifting through it, but the long-term ramifications and the unintended consequences. It's the unintended consequences that always seem to get us.
That's right.
So
Tragic news coming out of Idaho. Police in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, say two firefighters have been killed by sniper fire, and a third was injured while responding to a fire on the side of a mountain in what's being called an ambush.
Yeah. And the dude who shot the firefighters was the one who set the fire, allegedly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
He gone
so
now.
The plot
So.
thickens. Yeah. Wow.
I know. By the way, I spent a good 20 minutes last night over trying to pronounce Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
Because it's got a very French C-O-U-R-S,
Yeah.
D apostrophe, yeah, I
Coeur
tried.
d'Alene?
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's Coeur d'Alene.
I pumped a lot into that.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, let me see who's reporting on this in the news. So I pulled up a video and I'm like, oh, Coeur d'Alene, I'm a moron.
Yeah. Hey, look. Sometimes, we got it.
So hard.
I know, but
You ever stare at a word like that? Like, how is that pronounced?
Oh yeah, you know what I mean?
But it's right there. You
for
can't
sure.
unsee it.
Yeah, it's true. But no, this is terrible. But oh man, I don't know what would possess someone to do this. Let's start a fire.
So
get
that's
the firefighters up here.
back to the reality here. That they're saying the motive is still unknown. But when somebody does something like this, they usually leave clues. Like there might be a note somewhere, a manifesto or something.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm not making light by saying that. I'm like,
No,
actually, that's the way it's going to play out.
Yeah, that's the way it does. In other news, jury deliberations could begin as soon as today in the sex trafficking and racketeering case against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Can we please be done with this?
Man,
Well, you thought you want to get rid of be done with the big beautiful bill by 4th of July,
right?
Yeah,
No, this, still making headlines.
I know.
So
Needs to go away. You know
Yeah,
why? You know why this needs to go away? There's something huge that we have to move on to here. Have you heard of the Shark Whisperer yet?
no.
Okay,
The Shark Whisperer.
the Shark Whisperer.
Okay.
It's this woman who, like, she believes fully that we need to be swimming with great white sharks and creating a better relationship with sharks. And like
Well, let her go first.
she is.
She is?
She's got a new Netflix documentary, and it's all about it. And like she is, how do I put this?
Wow.
She's kind of a smoke show, and she knows it. So she's using all those attributes to bring eyeballs to the screen.
Okay.
Very, very
Yeah.
much so. But like, this is gonna go wrong somewhere.
It has to. It has to go wrong.
She's like very adamant about folks swimming with sharks and like they're big, peaceful, beautiful creatures. They're the unicorns of the sea. Yeah.
But what about those guys who get in cages and they think the same thing, right? Let's just get in there with the sharks. We've got a cage around us.
That's right.
And how many times you see that cage get attacked?
You can go in the cage.
Yeah.
Cage goes into water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. It's 6:13 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got to take a quick break. We're going to have sports on the back end of the break. Before the break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Breck. Breck.org is their home base. Breck, BREC.org is their home base. What are you going to find there? Literally everything you could do recreationally possible. Breck's got to be all things to all people. This is one of the things I love about them, is that they've got to be all things to all people. With everyone within East Baton Rouge Parish, there's 1,000,001 different ideas for what to do with your leisure time, what to do with how to get off the sofa and get active once in a while. This is why I love Breck and Breck.org. Well, Breck.org is my home base to find it. And then everything that's out there, everything under the sun, whether you're talking about tennis, whether you're talking about pickleball, whether you're talking about volleyball, softball, cross country, splash pads, rugby, you name it, they've got it. Starts at Breck.org. Find your facilities. Find the place to take advantage of it. Whether you're talking about golf, whether you're talking about a rock climbing wall. Did I mention tennis? Did I mention pickleball? Yeah, I led with those two things. They're all available at Breck and Breck.org. Her name is Ocean Ramsey.
I'm literally looking her up. I'm looking her up. Yeah. What is this about? What is this? Ocean. That's her first name? Ocean? That's not a...
Yeah, that's actually her first
stage
name.
name?
No, that's her actual first name. Ocean Ramsey. No relation to Dave.
First thing I see is her touching the nose of a great white shark. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you on the one that came through MSN? The one that's
Oh, I Googled it. Sportskeeda is what I'm on. Whatever that is. Let's see. Wow. Yeah, this is fascinating. I would watch this.
I would, because I watch everything with sharks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I would check this out.
But like this, okay?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all about the sharks, sweetheart. You don't want people looking at you.
Everyone needs a gimmick.
She's
right?
about the sharks like Livy Dunn's about the gymnastics.
Yeah, well, you know.
That wasn't fair. I shouldn't have said that. Because I actually believe Livy Dunn has been about the gymnastics until she's done with gymnastics.
But you're right. But if there was a guy doing this, you think he would get the
No,
headline? Like,
no,
you know what I mean?
No. They wouldn't have the eyeballs on.
No.
And everybody watching it is watching for her to get eaten.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the NASCAR effect, right? You're watching for the crashes. Oof. Wow. Yeah, this is terrifying. Ramsey has swum with sharks since she was 14.
Whoa.
Has degrees in biology, marine biology, and pathology. Wow. Okay. Man, good on you, but
Like,
critics in the academic community argue that far from raising awareness.
tell me that bikini isn't begging to be just gawked over.
She has a bikini on?
Yes,
From
she
here,
does.
but from here,
She looks naked.
yeah. From here, yeah. As critics in the academic community argue that far from raising awareness about sharks, she is using them to enhance her celebrity the way other influencers would cash in on their children or pets. I mean, this is not shark advocacy. It is selfish self-promotion.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hang on. You gotta dial back in on the show real quick. For the 625 segment, I need you to go to the Adelines folder and find some cuts from RFK Jr. on Wednesday or last Friday.
Okay. Any cuts, or you want specific cuts?
I don't know because I don't know how she cut it up. So
Okay, I'll let you know.
that folder.
I'll let you know.
I'll sift through them in the next break. Yep. That was by design. Not a whole lot to talk about here. 618, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Going to keep it moving with our sports segment here. LSU's quarterback Garrett Nussmeier was at the Manning Passing Academy over the weekend, speaking up about the upcoming season. Coach Brian Kelly has said this year's team is his most talented since he's been in Baton Rouge. Nussmeier, as you would expect, agrees.
It's definitely the most talented roster that I've been a part of at LSU. It's the closest team I've been a part of at LSU from top to the bottom of the roster. It's very exciting. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of expectations for us, and we accept those expectations. And I think that not only is there an expectation for us from the outside, but there's also an expectation for us from within.
As there should be. Look, I know it's infinitely harder to win in, well, I shouldn't say that. It's harder to win in football than it is in baseball, but Jay Johnson's already brought home 2 natties in his 4 years here. Nussmeier, by the way, went 9-4 with over 4,000 yards passing, 29 touchdowns in his first season as a starter. The last 2 LSU quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, they made a leap in year 2, put together historic Heisman seasons. Nussmeier says he's ignoring any of that speculation.
I'm Garrett Nussmeier. I'm not Jaden Daniels. I'm not Joe Burrow. I'm Garrett Nussmeier. And so I'm going to be the best Garrett Nussmeier that I can be, and hopefully it's enough for the LSU Tigers.
If he replicates last year's numbers and we have a better defense, I think he's going to be good to go. And I think if Nussmeier can replicate last year's numbers and we have a better defense, we do find our way into that 12-team playoff. And then from there, it's Katie bar the door, because who knows once playoff time is here. So we got about 61 days, 62 days. I got to check the latest count until the beginning of football season. Right now, it's time for the Fox Business Report. All right, what you got? I swear that is misedited and it needs to be re-edited because he says we're fragulated. Come on now. All right, while it is a holiday week, Friday being the 4th of July, and a lot of folks will be taking off this week, that being said, we do have a couple of problems up on your interstates. I-10 westbound, just before the show started this morning, there was a hit and run on 10 westbound near Dalrymple, and that is causing some delays. In fact, we're seeing some buildup here in between Acadian and the LSU Lakes on I-10 westbound. It's pretty slow going, especially around the Dalrymple exit, and then starts to pick up a little bit after that. In fact, by the time you get to the lakes, you should be back up and running full speed. But you will touch the brakes a good bit. You will slow down a good bit after Acadian Thruway. Now, backing things up on I-12, you go all the way back to Range Avenue. You got a little bit of congestion hopping on 12 westbound at Range, and then it slows down again as you get towards the 10-12 merge. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks great. 10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge looks great, as do both bridges and I-110. Surface Street's only one accident to look out for. It happened about 6 minutes ago. Airline at Victoria. Airline at Victoria. BRPD is working a crash that's in the roadway there, and that's your look at traffic from the Shawbill Star Traffic Center. I'm going to do the airport anyway. 625, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was in town on Friday. Kind of a big deal when the HHS secretary comes to town for a bill signing. I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. Before that, let me tell you how he could have gotten here. He could have flown directly into Baton Rouge from Reagan National. Why? Because there's a direct flight. Now, he would have had to flown in on Thursday evening. In fact, it's kind of reversed there, right? The flight's built for us in Baton Rouge to fly to D.C., get our business done, and fly back home. Technically, he could do it the other way around. But if you are in Baton Rouge and you've got business in our nation's capital, flybtr.com is your home base there. Flybtr.com. We have a direct daily flight. Leaves about 7:15 in the morning, comes back at the 6 o'clock hour in the evening. Flybtr.com if you want more details. And it's not our only option there. There's plenty of options available when you visit flybtr.com. We always say it around here. If you want more direct flights, you got to take advantage of the flights we have. That's how the airlines book those things out. They look at overall demand. And when it comes down to it, flying BTR is so much more convenient than driving down the road to fly out of New Orleans. When you factor in the cost of the parking, when you factor in the added time it takes you to get there and get back, I mean, how awful is that? When you've flown back home from somewhere and you're not really home yet, when you've landed and you've still got an hour plus to go, the worst. You fly into Baton Rouge, it's so much more convenient. You don't have to pay for parking. Hell, you can Uber there if you want to. TSA isn't a maze like it is down there. It's actually a pleasurable experience. And the options continue to grow. Check them out at flybtr.com. So State Senator Patrick McMath got SB 14 through the legislative session this past session. SB 14 aims to make Louisiana school lunches, among other things, a little bit more healthy. It bans certain ingredients, certain dyes along the way. We're going to hear from Senator McMath in our next segment. But right now, let's rewind the clock back to Friday when Governor Jeff Landry held a bill signing over at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. And featured guest of that was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., or as apparently everybody's friends with him. They all called him Bobby. Made some comments starting off with how we are pretty much the sickest nation out there.
We are literally the sickest nation in the world.
Oh, was that it? Oh, that was a quick one. That was a quick one. All right. Well, we'll expound upon that in just a little bit. One of the bigger things that was talked about by Bobby and by Governor Landry and by Senator McMath was how this is a relatively new phenomenon. Like it wasn't always this way. Our kids, you know, we're looking at chronic disease, obesity, juvenile diabetes, and the like. It wasn't always like that.
You know, when my uncle was president, I was a 10-year-old boy. We had the healthiest children in the world. About 3% of our children had chronic disease. Today, 60% do. We had, in addition, about a 3% obesity rate in our children. Today, it's over 50%.
Meanwhile, if you look at other nations around the world, particularly leading nations when it comes to, let's just say economic development, childhood test scores and the like, when you look at other nations, it's not that way elsewhere.
In Japan, where they don't allow processed food in their schools, the level of obesity is still 3%.
So what's gone wrong here versus there? How did we end up down this path? How did we change things to where our kids are just getting fatter? I say that, like fully aware, like, and it's not just kids. I mean, my grown butt's pretty fat too. Working on it. By the way, it's not just the weight problems. There's other problems connected to this.
The poisoning is not just affecting their health, it's affecting everything. It's affecting their mental illness, the depression, the alienation, the suicide rate, and the mental illness rates.
We are just beginning to crack the codes on how to unpack all of this. Mental health, I can't emphasize enough. And we're going to start talking about this a lot more, by the way. Mental health, I can't emphasize enough how everything is interconnected within all the chemistry that runs through us. Whether you're talking about the lab created chemicals that is part of our food, whether you're talking about sedentary lifestyle versus an active lifestyle, just no matter what it is, it's all interconnected, and it's creating the people that we are. How do you unpack that and move forward? Well, SB 14 might have been a start, and we'll hear from Senator McMath next. Thank you. That got it done. I was expecting longer pull quotes than that. Is there a full cut of the whole thing?
I'll double check.
Because I might want to revisit at 7:55. I'm debating between that and the Shark Whisper at 7:55. Oh, at the 6:46 break or 6:45 break, there's going to be 2 promos in there or 1 promo in there. I need them deleted. I can't shorten the length of the break from a Cade loaded up all my stuff, but every time I try to manage the log from my side, it tells me access denied.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see. I'll take a look at it. Looks like it's 646. You have a landmark bank.
Yep, that stays because that's a zeroed out. That's my live read.
Then you got a 5-star and Louisiana Chemical.
Yep, okay.
Compass Media, Relief Windows, and then the end of stop set at 649.05.
Okay, check it again right before the break fires off because I don't think it's auto-filled yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks like that's wrong. Audio story. Maybe that's the full.
Say again?
You want the full? You want to see?
No, the story is her story. That should be her voice mixed in with the sound bites.
Maha Bill audio story. Is that hers?
Listen to it. I don't.
Okay. Yeah, because aside from all the cuts, it looks like that's.
Do you have Patrick McMath?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He's ready. Yeah, it sounds like it's her. Yeah, it sounds like her recording.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Good morning, Facebook.
Yeah, I'm just now hopping in.
foods, such as diet and lack of social exercise, technology, both have huge impact on physical and mental health. Yeah. Speaking of physical health, man, I changed my brake pads on Friday, and I was so mad at myself for just not being physically, you know, like just so disappointed in myself that I'm not physically more fit, just with lifting tires and like on the ground and like
Yeah.
realizing like, gosh, man, I'm so out of shape and like I'm so just disappointed with myself. So yeah, I got to make some changes as well. Like, ugh.
Galen says, why is it harder to win the Natty in football versus baseball? I'm glad you asked that question, Galen, because I knew somebody would. Margin for error is smaller. Margin for error is much, much smaller. If you drop a weekend series or 3 over the course of a baseball season, you could still make the postseason. Your margin for error to make the postseason or the postseason that counts is so much smaller. That's why. Kevin says processed foods and lack of social exercise both have huge impact on physical and mental health. 100%, yes. And I'm saying that knowing full well I'm going to eat complete garbage for lunch today. Okay.
Oh man,
There's good reason for it though. Go right into weather. There's reason for it though, okay? I forget which camp it's at, but my son gets a free Gaddy's coupon.
oh yeah.
And this started either last year or year before, where he wants to take me to lunch.
Oh, that's cool.
And I know,
That's
and I
cool.
can't say no to it. It's like,
No.
so
That's awesome.
I end up buying my own lunch, but he's paying for his because he's got his coupon. And he's all
Yeah.
proud of himself, and plus it's a couple minutes of father-son time, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
But
That's
it is dog shit pizza.
Oh man. I got a good let's see.
Right into him, by the way. Signed SB 14 into law and brought a member of Donald Trump's cabinet to town to do it. This is, of course, the bill about healthy lunches in our schools, and a little bit more on top of that. State Senator Patrick McMath is on the hotline right now. Senator McMath, how are you this morning?
I'm great, Brian. Good morning.
Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this. It's a big day on Friday. So I was in the back of the room in a little media gaggle part right there. Walk me through what it felt like on Friday to have that. I mean, a lot of bills get through the legislature and do get signed, but that level of attention, that call to action right there, how'd that feel?
It was surreal, and it was a reflection of how important this bill is to the future of Louisiana and the future of our health and the state. I got to tell you, though, it on a personal level, when I was younger, probably second or third grade, one of the very first videos I ever saw of a president was JFK giving the speech about going to the moon and why we need to do the hard things. And that really got me interested in politics, quite honestly. And to be sitting on the same stage and having lunch with and then doing a podcast with a Kennedy, with RFK Jr. was wild.
Yeah, it was. It's just because you kind of forget the lineage every once in a while, right? I mean, when he's speaking, all you're thinking about is, I wish I could get this guy a lozenge. But, like, you forget the lineage and the history that his family has brought.
Yeah. Uncle President of the United States, his father was inches away, and, Attorney General and U.S. Senator, and his other uncle is a U.S. Senator. I mean, they're a dynasty, and whether, agree or disagree with their politics, they're an institution, and for him to take the time to come in and support Louisiana, and be present at this bill signing and be supportive of what we did this past session, was really awesome. And it's, former Democratic presidential candidate working together with myself and Governor Landry, fairly conservative individuals. It speaks to the bipartisan nature of this bill and nutrition and health and this movement that's taking place across the country. And it was just a great day.
Yes, it absolutely was. And there are times where forget about politics. It's just good policy. This is good for our kids. It's good for the health of our state. It's good for agribusiness in the state as well, for that matter, because a lot of these ingredients, a lot of the foods that we're going to be serving in schools are going to come from Louisiana. So this is and not to mention the health benefits on the back end as well. So this is a win across the board. Let's talk for a quick second about how it came to fruition. I know you came on back at the beginning of the session to talk about it, but for the refresher course, what made you put pen to paper and say, let's make this a law?
A personal matter, actually. About 2 years ago, my wife was having some health issues. It was nutrition based, as we later found out. I do a deep dive down the rabbit hole. We change up what our pantry looks like and how we shop at the store. We've seen the benefits for our individual family. Kind of fell into this community that is health nutrition focused. Coincides with the assassination or attempted assassination of President Trump, the merger of Kennedy and Trump's kind of teams coming together, and this MAHA movement just all being born really within the last year, quite honestly. And so I wanted to play a part in that as the chairman of Senate Health and Welfare. I felt it was my responsibility to take our health of our citizens seriously, and was fortunate enough to be able to work with people in Washington, D.C., with the Trump and the Kennedy administration, and follow what a number of other states have done or had filed early on this year. Mm-hmm. And really we just we stitched together a very comprehensive MAHA bill, and it's what we ended up with.
Okay, so what's in the bill? What's it going to look like in real life? What changes will we see with school lunches and overall nutrition?
Yeah, so on the school lunch side, we're prohibiting the use of certain ingredients. There's a list about 15 or 16. Now, we extended the runway on that to give the schools and the providers of these meals time to make these adjustments. And then there's transparency piece in both, restaurants. We're requiring them to disclose whether they're cooking in seed oils and food products that contain a list of ingredients that many studies suggest could be detrimental to your health. We're requiring a greater transparency in what those ingredients are and the potential health effects that they could have. And then a continuing education piece for healthcare providers to encourage them to take more education on nutrition and metabolic health. And so those are the four, primary things. It's all about transparency. It's about education. It's about protecting our kids.
We're talking with State Senator Patrick McMath about SB 14 that got signed into law on Friday with much fanfare to go along with it. Senator McMath, let's talk a little bit about implementation. You said there's a little bit longer ramp up here because when it comes to implementation, local, fresh, these some things like this are going to change up how folks have to order, what orders they can make. I mean, I know before this bill, it was just a matter of filling out the list and seeing what's available from the distributor. How is this going to change a school's approach to something as simple as ordering their food?
Well, nothing immediately. Again, the
right.
food industrial complex is a big ship, and it turns slowly. So again, we built in runways to account for that. But a lot of this stuff is going to come down on the federal level as well. It's why I think Secretary Kennedy had an interest to come in and provide his thoughts on where this was going at a federal level. Mm-hmm. And so it's nothing immediate. The education piece and the restaurant piece are a little bit sooner than the school portion of the bill. But again, big changes take time to adjust. And so we wanted to be realistic with this bill. We didn't want this to just be some sort of, political Facebook post material. We wanted to effectuate real change, and to do that, you have to be realistic, and that's what is reflective in the bill.
So longer term, what are we looking at as far as ramp up on this would be concerned, though? 2 years, 3 years? What are we looking at?
Schools will be 2 years. Restaurants are 2 years. The education piece is immediate, effective upon the signature of the governor. Actually, it might start January 1.
Okay.
But a lot of this stuff is already happening across the country. Kellogg's, Nabisco, PepsiCo are all have made announcements that they're doing away with certain ingredients in food dyes because of this patchwork of regulations that these states are passing. And Louisiana leads in that. And so we're already seeing positive change on the federal level with regards to removal of certain ingredients in dyes and things. And so it's happening already.
Are you done? Or are you going to come back with more in future sessions? I mean, can we be on the lookout? And I promise you I'm not playing when I say this. Can we be on the lookout for something like implementing in-school farms, increasing 4-H clubs, this sort of thing? Is this bill your only firing across the bow in this battle?
This was the lowest hanging fruit, the very first step. The next step, and you hit the nail on the head, Brian, is farms. Farms are going to be my focus moving forward. Micro farms, getting schools educating children on not only just nutrition and healthy eating, but growing their food. Studies all over the world suggest that if you grow your food, you're more inclined to eat it and to think that it tastes better. And so that's the next step. And we have to build this infrastructure of farms to supply the foods and the hospitals and the nursing homes and our tables at home with healthy, fresh food, and that is the future.
So right in your own backyard at Christ Episcopal, I know they've dabbled in this already, and the learning experience by the kids has been because number one, it's so hands-on, right? And number two, the ownership of what they're doing, what the kids are doing, when the kids have their hands on it, they take ownership in it, they take pride in it, and it's actually transferring to their other subjects as well.
It's think about it. It's STEM. It's science, technology, engineering, math, all and nutrition all combined. I mean, it's when you can plant a seed and then and take care of that plant and harvest the fruit that comes from it. It's what we're meant to do as humans.
Yes.
And so to get back to that and to encourage that in schools, that is the next step, and that's where we need to go. And it'll lead to a much healthier future of not just Louisiana, but the United States.
Oh, watch the reduction in allergies. Watch the reduction in just, the general malaise that kids can have in the mid-afternoon. When it comes out of the earth that's underneath your feet, it's going to be better for you across the board. In the meanwhile, big day on Friday. Basking in the glow of it, I hope, for a little while. Just take a victory lap or two. State Senator Patrick McMath, thank you for hopping on board.
Thanks, Brian.
I wasn't kidding. Oh, by the way, that was pre-recorded. I greatly appreciate Senator McMath making time. Obviously, 6:35 this morning was not going to be the case, but I always like to disclose when things are not 100% live. That being said, though, I wasn't kidding when I said our farm's the next thing. I've actually seen it in schools where they're not going to provide all their food on their own farm. This isn't Little House on the Prairie. But when you can get kids more interested in what they grow and what they consume, they're aware of it on the front end, which is awesome. That level of awareness is going to be a game changer long term. I mentioned a school that's in Covington. Well, it's in between Covington and Madisonville, actually. If you're on I-12 eastbound, you get off at the Covington-Madisonville exit, head to the right, and then swing a left. You got Christ Episcopal School there. They have a farm there. They they still order all their cafeteria food and whatnot, but they do grow things and they use them. And they got chickens. They got things that they plant. They got different, different fruits or vegetables, well, mostly vegetables. But the kids take ownership of it very, very quickly, which is awesome. We got 1 minute until we're going to check your money now. In that minute, let me remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. LandmarkBankLA.com is the website. LandmarkBankLA.com. If you are in any of the surrounding area around Baton Rouge, if you're in Zachary, if you're in Denham, Clinton, on the west side, if you're in Brewley, check out LandmarkBankLA.com. Find the branch that's closest to you. Landmark Bank started as a community bank, and they remain to this day, more than 100 and close to 30 years later, they remain a community bank. So whether you're talking about your personal banking, checking, savings, borrowing, whatever, whether you're talking about opening a new business, they've got you covered on a community level, a local level. Don't just have a bank, have a banker with Landmark Bank. Here's your money now. The two, okay. All right. I got to make sure it doesn't re-pop up. So. Oh, I know what we're talking about at 7:55. I just don't know if I have room to talk about it there. That shortfall at the DA's office. Legislative auditor's office says there's significant funding issues. And to make up for the shortfall, the DA's office has depleted the office's reserve fund and is now working on a plan to reduce costs and advocate for increased funding. Blah blah blah. Shortcomings are going to they're going to cut the number of assistant district attorneys and the number of community-based crime intervention and prevention programs. And here's the question: whose job is crime prevention? It's the police's job to arrest when a crime happens, and the DA's job to prosecute once the police makes the arrest. Whose job is crime prevention? Why is the DA's office having to pay for something that really should be somebody else's job? But whose job is it? 655 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to State Senator Patrick McMath for hopping on board. That'll be available on demand at talk1073.com once the show is over with today. Coming up next hour, we got Medical Monday, and we've got Will Green from LABI. The Louisiana Driven program picked up a number of wins throughout the legislative session. We're going to begin our preview of those wins. And I say begin because it is 3 full pages worth of bills that got through. There's no way we're getting through all of them. We'll break them down by category: education and talent supply, economic development, tax and business climate, and safety and resiliency. We'll break those down with Will Green, or we'll begin breaking those down with Will Green, coming up at 7:35. 8 o'clock hour, we got Moon Griffon coming your way. We talk about everything under the sun with Moon every Monday, and then we'll have Central's mayor, Wade Evans, in the house at 8:35. They got a big 4th of July celebration coming up. Plus, it's their 20th anniversary as a city. We'll talk about that. Right now, though, let's dive back into a story that you heard from our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network at the bottom of the hour, asking this question, and I wanted to answer it over on our Facebook Live. By the way, shout out to the folks over at Lake Urgent Care. They bring you the live on Facebook every day. John, I don't know if you saw it. Did you see Lake Urgent Care's video with Gordy?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's so good. I believe it's on Lake Urgent Care's Instagram Reels.
Okay.
Go check out Lake Urgent Care's Instagram. So good. I'm not going to spoil any of it. If you want to see it, go see it. I highly recommend going to see it. I will give you these 3 words. Gordy needs supervision. That's it. I'll let them tell you the rest of the story over there. Shout out to Lake Urgent Care for bringing us our Facebook Live every single day. Now, here's the question I want answered on our Facebook Live. Are you traveling this 4th of July? The 4th falls on a Friday. That makes for a beautiful 3-day weekend. And for a lot of folks, it means clocking out as of today because you get a bonus day that you don't have to spend vacation day on, right? You get this week plus Friday, then Saturday and Sunday, and you're back at work next Monday. In fact, if you really wanted to rewind the clock, if you clocked out on Friday, you go from Saturday all the way through the following Sunday, which is that's just good vacation economics right there. So AAA Louisiana says the holiday weekend is basically already here. The 4th of July being Friday, AAA says they expect more than 72 million people to head out of town for the holiday, the vast majority by car. Don Redmond with AAA Louisiana says the calendar this year makes for, well, he's going to explain exactly what I just said.
When we find the holiday, such as 4th of July, that falls on a Friday or even a close to the weekend, that just adds more people to the road who want to start that vacation. So it's underway as we speak now.
Now, the flip side of that is it staggers out when the vacationers are on the road, so you get the bonus of both sides, right? Fewer people on the road for work, fewer people on the road for vacation. It's not like everybody's going to be jammed up all at once. Now, Redmond says with some 12 million people hitting the road throughout the Gulf South region, you could expect heavier traffic, not just this week, but going into next week as well.
Don't be surprised if you see a lot of traffic this week and then after the 4th of July because they may have started their vacation on the 4th and then taken the following week up. So I would say these next 2 weeks are going to be very busy on the roadway.
Okay, but that's like vacation traffic. That's not 5 p.m. at the corner of Perkins and Essen traffic. It's going to lighten it on that end for sure. Now, of course, we've got the do's and don'ts of traveling around this time or around any holiday. Redmond says one big don't when traveling over the next 2 weeks, don't procrastinate.
You want to hit that road as early in the morning as possible. I know it's hard to get the whole family up together to go do that, but as long as you're on the road and heading toward your destination well before noon, traffic should be fairly smooth for you.
I don't want to argue with a soundbite because he's not here to argue back. But if you hit the road early and you're headed west, by the time you get to Lafayette, aren't you running into the traffic that is already there in Lafayette? More to the point, if you're headed east, head to the Redneck Riviera over there on the Gulf Coast. By the time you get to Mandeville, Covington, you're hitting their traffic. I don't know. Let's break. Hour 2's next. It just seems like a wash to me. You want to get out early? Get out early. Oh, we're out an hour in front of all the rest of the Baton Rouge folks. You get to Covington? Oh, son of a bitch.
All right, let's see about this video here.
It's beautiful. The writing of that, whoever put that together, and the way it was done, and of course Gordy's going to ham it up a little bit, which is because he's good like that.
Yeah,
But
that's cool.
so good. Let's face it, Gordy needs supervision. Oh, the level to which I love working here cannot be quantified. Dun, dun, dun. 7:05. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. We got us a busy hour here. We got Medical Monday coming up in our next segment. We've also got Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, slated for 7:35. A lot got done during the legislative session when it comes to LA Driven. What is LA Driven? Well, I'm glad you asked. This was a set of priorities put in place by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, which, by the way, is your state's chamber of commerce. It was put in place before the 2024 session. In fact, they did all the research in 2023, called it LA 23 at the time, but we're looking ahead towards Louisiana in the year 2030. Where do we want to be by the end of this decade? That's the long and the short of what LA Driven is. And in the 2024 session, like 50 bills were 50 measures were passed during the 24 session that had some effect on where we're going. Come back around this time, and you've got, I haven't counted them yet, but it's 3 pages worth of bills. Whether you're talking about education and talent supply, talking about workforce development, talk about economic development, talk about tax policy, the legal climate, the insurance market, the regulatory policies, the infrastructure, public safety, judicial modernization, healthy outcomes. There's so much that was going on in the session that got done. We're going to talk about as much of it as we can today. It'll probably spill over into next week's segment as well, but we'll catch up with Will Green at about 7:35. Every time Moon, by the way, Moon Griffon coming on at 8:15, every time Moon talks about how he hates the phrase taking a step forward, a step in the right direction, it's always because the second step is never taken. A plan like this ensures the follow-up steps. When you have LA driven and your eyes are on the prize for where you want to be, and you know that at the end of one session, it's just the precursor for the next session. At the end of one session, it's time to get to work. Where did we end up, and how can we start stepping again? That's the difference maker right there. The session is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And I think that's what's different this time around. That's why it feels different this time around. We'll talk with Will Green at 7:35. Right now, top stories and trending.
Number 5.
All right, this one coming across from our news partners at WBRZ, actually coming across a little bit earlier this morning. In a report released this morning from the Legislative Auditor's Office, officials say the 19th Judicial District Attorney's Office continued to, quote, have significant funding issues, and that to address the issues, the office would likely cut crime prevention efforts. Auditors said in fiscal 2024, expenditures for the office outweighed revenue by approximately $1 million. To make up for the shortfall, the DA's office has depleted their reserve fund. They're now working on a plan to reduce costs and advocate for increased funding. You might remember that, 2 months ago-ish, the DA's office had a proposed property tax that fell short. This would have helped out with that a great deal. Now they're left looking for other possibilities. This might mean cutting assistant DAs. It might mean reducing the number of community-based crime intervention and prevention programs. There's no way we don't talk about this later on in the hour. I tell you what, pencil it in for 7:55 and be ready to answer this question. Whose job is crime prevention? The police need to arrest the wrongdoers. The DA's office needs to prosecute the wrongdoers. Whose job is actual job is prevention? We'll talk about that at the end of this hour.
Number 4.
Louisiana has its first West Nile case of 2025. An 84-year-old woman from Denham Springs contracted West Nile earlier this month. She is recovering, though quite the recovery did hit her pretty hard.
Number 3.
LSU's moving forward with a plan to build a new dorm complex that'll house an additional 1,200 people on campus. It's a $215 million plan to build a new South Quad dorm for first-year students. It was approved by the Board of Supervisors on Friday. It's being built in the Touchdown Village East lot that's right across from LSU's engineering and business schools.
Number 2.
Law officers chased a man accused of drag racing from Baton Rouge to Denham Springs late Friday night. It ended in a violent crash. BRPD attempted to stop 23-year-old Kane Mamadou. He was drag racing, allegedly, near the intersection of North Sherwood Forest and South Choctaw Drive just before midnight. Officers chased the driver onto I-12 until he exited at range. Mamadou crashed into another vehicle, fled the scene on foot, was quickly captured by police.
Number 1.
A man was brought to a hospital after being shot in the leg during a domestic dispute yesterday afternoon, according to the sheriff's office. Deputies responded to a domestic incident between a husband and wife on Pascagoula Drive around 1 p.m. Sunday. Sources said during the dispute, a gun accidentally went off. Man was shot in the leg. East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office said both the husband and wife were arrested on domestic abuse charges. What you got, John?
All right. Well, the U.S. Senate continues to work on the president's big, beautiful bill as lawmakers hope to have everything wrapped up before the 4th of July.
Less than an hour from now, they're supposed to reconvene.
That's right.
9 o'clock their time, 8 o'clock our time. So hopefully, and as I understand it, they're clocking in, making their vote. Just boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Bada bing, bada boom, betty boop.
That's it.
Yep. Let's hope. Let's hope. And then,
Man.
because at that point, we could begin the sifting through process.
Absolutely.
What's actually at stake here? Not what the rhetoric says, not what the talking points say, not what the draconian press releases read.
Yeah.
How is it actually going to play out?
Bring a lot more clarification to it for sure.
Hopefully.
Police in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, say 2 firefighters have been killed by sniper fire and a third was injured. While responding to a fire on the side of a mountain, it was being called an ambush.
And they still don't know the motive here, which I'm sure we'll find out in the next couple days. They'll track down social media posts or some kind of manifesto left in the person's apartment. Oh, by the way, allegedly the wildfire was started by the same dude who shot the firefighters.
And just kind of lured them in with that?
Yeah.
And then, wow.
Yeah, let's start a fire that'll bring out firefighters. They'll shoot them when they get there. That's allegedly how that played out. I know.
And then that adds to the level of precaution that these guys have to think about, right? When they're going out to these things and thinking, wow, I'm sure they weren't thinking, okay, this is an ambush or I'm going to.
No.
And now this is
whoever
something.
thinks that.
And now this is something that might have to be on the back of their mind when they respond to things like this. And so, man, yeah, devastating for sure coming out of Idaho. In other news, jury deliberations could begin as soon as today in the sex trafficking and racketeering case against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
I just want this off our plate.
I know.
I just want this off our plate as a society. Tired of the headlines, and I go out of my way to not read them. Oh, by the way, like I don't click through.
Yeah.
I'm not clicking through on anything Diddy, nothing Diddy.
But I mean, it's like every time you're on. I mean, it's
No,
everywhere.
it's ever present.
Yep.
If it weren't trending, you wouldn't be talking about it this morning.
That's
We
right.
wouldn't be talking about it
That's
this morning.
right. That's correct.
It's all so gross too.
Yeah. Yeah. The more that comes out about this, I mean, it's
Yep.
really disturbing and disgusting for sure.
And that being said, as soon as it's done, what are they going to move on to? What's the next one? I mean, we're in a position now where we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
You're right. Unfortunately.
Is it back to Will Smith?
Yeah, it's back to that diss track he released.
He put out a diss track. First of all, give us the lowdown on this.
Yeah, apparently he was on a show. I'm gonna have to go back and I'll let the Facebook crew know because I'm gonna pull it up again. But I was just scrolling a little bit and it popped up. But apparently he was on a show and decided to bust out a freestyle, a diss track to Chris Rock.
Like, was Chris Rock the intended target here, or did he just?
No,
If you're going freestyle, then okay. Let me re-ask the question.
Yeah.
Was it a matter of I want you to do a freestyle about Chris Rock, or was it a matter of I want you to freestyle and Will Smith's mind just wandered towards Chris Rock?
I think it was the latter.
The latter. Okay.
Yeah. I think it was just.
Hey, Fresh Prince, start rapping, and it walked around to Chris Rock. Okay.
Man, so he's still a little bitter.
Still unwilling to accept accountability for his own actions.
But we talked about this, right? A way to redeem himself is really just put out some party music, make us just, just get back to
You are the Fresh Prince.
Get back to that.
I know.
Get back to that vibe.
You're still the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
30 years later, I guess you're the not so Fresh Prince at this point. But 30 years later, that's what I want back. I want Getting Jiggy with it back.
Yes.
I want Miami. Men in Black. Or take it really old school. Parents Just Don't Understand.
Okay.
There
you go. That's the Will Smith we
want. Can we get Jazzy back in his life?
That's what we want.
We need Jazzy Jeff back in his life. Yeah. Diss track. He's never had a diss track in his life.
No, I can't say that he has.
Whatever.
Not known for his.
That's not who he is.
Not really known for that.
And I'm sure when I think diss track, I think Tupac.
Oh, man.
No one's ever going to have a better diss track than that.
Yeah, I mean,
no, forget about Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Y'all are children's playtime.
Oh man, yeah. Just
dial it back. Oof. So why try?
I don't
do what
know
you
if
do.
This is just trying to, I don't know, get a sense of relevancy. I don't know. Just freestyling was never his thing.
It is. It's ego.
Yeah.
We're at 7:15 at Talk 107.3 FM, running a minute behind. Not to worry. Medical Monday's next.
Yep, it was. I'm trying to find the name of the show.
Medical Monday's short today. That's why I got it
loaded
vamping
up.
so much.
Was it 10 baby? Wait, what?
Baby 101.
Baby 101. Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, that's what it was. Fire in the Booth was the name of the show. Yeah, there's clips of it all over YouTube. Okay. Will Smith don't got a cuss in his record and his raps to sell records, but I do. So F him and F you too. Will Smith said that from stage back then, you know? He never had to kill anybody in his records. He never had to cuss in his records. It's like, that's the Will Smith we want.
It just, when you fire out of the blocks with, first off, fuck you, bitch, and the click you claim. Like, that's the strongest opening line.
And that was Tupac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Side, when we ride, come equipped with game. No one's ever getting better than Hit 'Em Up. Oh. Debbie says maybe the question should be, what is crime prevention? That's a good point, Debbie. I got to remember that when we come back around to it. Byron ain't been around in a minute. Byron, I'd rather dip my behind in honey and sit in ants than travel on a 4th of July weekend. Has anyone followed the Carmelo Anthony fundraising issue? The parents bumped up the goal to $1.5 million, but then filed for indigency with the court. Well, I think he's guilty. This young man is getting screwed by his own parents. So I haven't been following it. I know he's accused of killing somebody.
It's time for your weekly checkup. This is Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake Health.
Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and we're pivoting to parenting this week, talking about Parenting You and Baby 101. This is an upcoming event, an in-person event. It's hosted by Our Lady of the Lake Children's Health, and we've got Dr. Megan Smith on with us. Dr. Smith, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm doing great.
I'm doing very well on this end as well. All right, tell us all about it. What is Parenting You Baby 101, and why was it created?
So, you are expecting, you're having a baby, but babies don't come with an instruction manual. There are so many questions. Newborns can be confusing, and so we want to empower moms and dads to have a little bit more confidence to know what to do in those first couple of weeks and months of life.
The first couple of weeks and months are like, yeah, that's the spot where, like, it's before any of the books begin, right? All the books that are out there, it's all about once they're, into the toddler years and parenting and raising them and all that stuff. But literally getting them home from the hospital is so many questions.
Absolutely. I wish a baby came with an instruction manual, but that's the great thing about your pediatricians and this event is we're going to give you so many different informations and resources to kind of make you feel a little bit better about making that next step of going home with your loved one.
Covers all the basics. We got feeding, sleep, car safety, or car seat safety. Which of these do you think parents tend to have the most questions or worries about?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think it depends on if your baby's a good sleeper or if they're a good eater. I'd say that most parents have tons of questions about feeding because it can be so confusing. But I find sleep, especially when they're a couple months old, is when it becomes the big hot question as well.
And probably due to a lot of that the baby can't communicate with us other than to cry. It's like we don't know the answers. So feeding being one of those bigger concerns for new parents. Practical advice that you have would be what to ease their stress?
So take a deep breath. Whenever you are stressed, baby can sense that you're stressed. At our event, we're going to have a board-certified lactation specialist who's also a pediatrician, Dr. Gregory Jelpe, who's going to go over tips and tricks on breastfeeding, as well as myself, Dr. Fletches, and Dr. Rao will go over a little bit more on formula feeding and all of the confusion that comes with both of those things.
Very cool stuff. Moving over to sleep. What are some safe sleep tips that you'll be covering, and how can parents build healthy sleep habits from the start?
Yes, so from the start, it's so important. So we'll go over the ABCs of safe sleep, which is alone, on their back, and in their crib. But also, the pro tip is starting that safe sleep practice even from their naps at the beginning to kind of get them adjusted and ready for it.
This is Medical Monday, which is, of course, presented by the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake. We're talking Parenting You, Baby One-on-One, Baby 101 with Dr. Megan Smith this morning. All right, rewind the clock. We're good 17 and a half years. When we were leaving the hospital with our first, I can remember going over and over and over again, how to do the swaddling, and then you go to get in the car to bring the baby home, and it's like, I can't buckle this with the baby swaddled. Let's talk car seat safety. Critical part of the event coming up. Give me some common mistakes that you see.
I think the most common mistake that I see parents do is they add extra stuff to the car seat. And so what's going to be really great about this event is we're going to have certified passenger safety technicians, or CPSTs for short, that are going to come and teach us a little bit about how to make sure that car seat is safe for a baby. Because you're right, it's so confusing. If you've never put a baby in a car seat before, it's hard to explain. And so having someone give you a hands-on visual is going to be so helpful.
And look, it's so obvious in hindsight, right? And for those that are already parents that are listening right now, yes, everything is obvious in hindsight, but rewind the clock and put yourself in the shoes of that first-time parent, because, yeah, there was a lot of that where it's not intuitive.
Absolutely not, especially when you're sleep deprived in these first couple of weeks of their life.
Yeah, also true. As a pediatrician, what are some of the more common questions or misconceptions you hear during the early newborn visits that you'll tackle at the event as well?
I think one of the most common misconceptions that I hear is that more expensive equals better quality. And so we'll go over that with car seats and formula and everything in between. But another common misconception is that crying means something's the matter. And we'll go over what that looks like to help soothe your newborn.
Give me some examples of where crying does not require attention.
So a healthy baby, when nothing else is wrong, they can cry for up to 2 hours in a day. Crying is their way of communicating. They don't quite have the same voice and vocabulary that you and I have, and so they're trying to tell you something, and you will quickly learn where that cry means that I'm hungry and this cry means that I have a dirty diaper, but crying by itself doesn't necessarily mean anything's the matter.
Talk about tag teaming as well. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So
yes.
This isn't just for the moms, right?
100%. Bring dad, bring grandma, bring whoever is going to be helping you take care of this baby. Even though they said they raised you perfectly, everyone can use a refresher on how to best take care of someone.
We are, of course, covering Parenting You, Baby 101 from Our Lady of the Lake, and Our Lady of the Lake is the sponsor of Medical Monday, which you're listening to right now. We're talking with Dr. Megan Smith. Got a couple more minutes. Dr. Smith, want to ask you about, you know what? Let's step away from the educational for just a minute. There's a little bit of fun involved here, too. You guys have door prizes. What can you tell me about what folks can win when they come out?
Yeah, so there's going to be a pack and play, a car seat, and a diaper bag that'll be up for raffle, but there also will be light refreshments and snacks for everyone in attendance.
How far along in the pregnancy should someone be to attend this? I mean, just found out you're pregnant, 2 weeks from being due. Like, whereabouts is the right fit to attend?
I think anywhere that you are in your pregnancy journey, even in the trying to conceive phase, we're even happy to have you after you've had baby and you want to come and learn a little bit more and bring your little one with us too. So really, this is for everyone.
How often does the event happen?
This will be our first event, and so I'm hoping that we'll continue to do it annually.
Okay, well, so yeah, if it's annually, then yeah, get in at whatever point of the pregnancy you're at, because the next time it rolls around, you'll already be in the thick of it. New moms, what do you hope they walk away with after attending Parenting You Baby 101?
I think the most important thing that a parent can take away from this is a little bit of confidence. Of course, you're still going to have questions when your little one comes. Once you're in that real-time environment, but knowing that you have a pediatrician on your side and just a little bit of confidence to go with it, I think is the main goal of this event.
Same for the new dads, I would assume?
Absolutely.
And last one before we get you out of here, Doc, and I appreciate your time this morning. How can folks register or learn more about this event?
So if you go to the Children's Hospital website, under our Parenting You classes, you can register at Baby 101, and it's a free event.
Once again, wish we could have rewound the clock by 18 years. I would have loved to have had this when we were first diving into parenting, but it is here, and it is now, and it is unbelievably valuable for first-time parents. It's called Parenting You Baby 101. She's Dr. Megan Smith. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you so much.
Of course, Medical Monday brought to you every Monday by the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake. And as I like to disclaim, if anything's pre-recorded, we let you know that. We did record Medical Monday late last week. So I greatly appreciate Dr. Smith's time on that. We got a lot of ground to cover still this morning. Our next segment is going to move by unbelievably fast. Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, is slated to join us. We're going to talk about LA Driven. What got done in the last legislative session from LABI's perspective? Odds are we're going to start that conversation and not finish it, because a lot got done. Next hour, we'll talk with Moon Griffon at 8:15, and then the mayor of Central, Wade Evans, going to join us at 8:35. A lot going on in Central. It's their 20th anniversary. They got a big 4th of July celebration coming up. Looking forward to that conversation. Before we get you to news, traffic, and weather, I want to remind you about the folks over at Vex European, Vex, V-E-X, VexEuropean.com. Love telling you about Vex European. I'm a customer of Vex European. I've got an 18-year-old car. It takes a good bit of TLC to keep that bad boy running, and that bad boy runs smooth because Vinny and his team know what they're doing. I've got a master-level technician when it comes to Mercedes-Benz. Jaguar owners, you might be finding yourself left in the lurch right now. The Jaguar Baton Rouge dealership closed down. If you took your Jaguar to the dealership for regular maintenance and you are searching for a new home, where can I go to take my Jaguar? Vex European is your answer. They have a certified master level tech for Jaguar vehicles. Go to VexEuropean.com. Click on the specials tab first. Save you $100 on your first visit. Then click on appointments. Make yourself an appointment. Get to know the crew over at Vex European as they take care of your vehicle, whether you're talking about Jaguar or whatever other European vehicle you drive. They've got you covered over at Vex European and VexEuropean.com. Where are you going to find them in real life? Just out of curiosity, they're on the backside of Industriplex on Benefit Drive, which, quite honestly, if you scooch out to Airline Highway, isn't too far away from where you were taking your car to the Jaguar dealership to begin with. So check them out, VexEuropean.com. We got news, traffic, weather, talking with Will Green next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Okay, Matt is chiming in on something we talked about in the first hour. So Shark Whisperer is pretty. I don't think she can convince normal people to just jump in with sharks. Sharks are cool, and they're not all Jaws, but I'm good looking from a cage or from a boat. She says herself that she puts herself in extreme situations. Yep, agree with all that, Matt. I agree with everything you just said. There's nothing that anyone can tell me that's going to make me jump into the water with an apex predator whose only means of contact is teeth. If a shark says in his mind, hey, I wonder what that is, he can't reach out and touch it. He's got to bite it.
Exactly.
His only means of physical assessment is teeth. Deadly teeth.
Yeah.
And a shark, like a mama dog will carry her puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah. With her mouth, but not like, "Arr!" Right.
Not
Sharks
aggressive.
don't do that.
No. Even if it's like a my bad, like I wonder what this is.
Right.
Chomp. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I don't want that. But it's too late. You're
Yeah.
bleeding. You're bleeding out.
Yeah.
No.
O-Search. The folks at O-Search have tagged and named hundreds, if not thousands, of sharks. None of those sharks are named Mulligan. There's no do-over.
Oof. Yeah.
What? I need Royce DePlessis' phone number. Let me put this on my to-do list for today.
Studio. Hi, good morning, sir. Yeah, we'll have you up here in just a few minutes. All right, thank you.
Ocean Ramsey is Steve Irwin version 2.0 and will likely have the same outcome.
Oof.
Yeah, but with way better legs.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
So difference being, I think a shark's going to get her. Have you ever seen Norm Macdonald's bit about Steve Irwin?
Oh,
Like,
man.
didn't get killed. The crocodile hunter didn't get killed by a crocodile.
Yeah.
Yeah, some got killed by some fruity fish. If you like dark humor, Google Norm Macdonald, Steve Irwin.
Oh man, anything Norm Macdonald.
Oh God, yeah.
Dude was. Oh my God.
Because I think he's on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart was like, "Please don't do this. Stop making me laugh at this." It's such a good bit. I could have. It's like this crocodile's talking. I could have got him and his kid.
Oh man,
It's such a good
Freaking Norm
bit.
Macdonald,
But yes, I
Legend.
believe that as well. And you know what? With the vanity that she has, she doesn't do shit unless it's on camera.
Yeah.
So think about those terms for just a quick second. Like remember growing up in the 80s with the Faces of Death videos? I don't. Oh God, that got morbid fast, right? Oh, you don't know Faces of Death? Horrific. Like actual people actually dying that got caught on camera.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, now you see that so much with. I don't know. I'm somehow on that side of Instagram. I don't know how I got there.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
but you know when this woman always wants a camera. Oh, we got to get into it. 736 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Unpacking this legislative session has taken some doing and will continue to do so, especially when you got the hardworking folks over at LABI pushing LA driven and seeing results. Joining us now is the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, Will Green. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Brian. Good morning. How are you?
Doing very well this morning as well. So where do you want to start? What do you want to unpack? Because I know there's no way we're squeezing this into one segment. This is going to spill over to another segment. But where do you want to start with what got done in this legislative session?
Well, so look, I mean, it was a fiscal session, right? But it, like we've talked before, it didn't really feel much like a fiscal and budget session. It felt more like a transportation, economic development, and insurance session, which is great, right?
Yes.
I mean, we wanted to continue this session, and I know the business community and I know the leadership and the legislature and the House and Senate wanted to continue the momentum that was carried over from a pretty successful regular session in 2024 and a fiscal special session at the end of 2024. Our leadership, our board of directors, they wanted to make sure that we stayed full throttle this year, continuing down the path to success as we looked into 2025. And sort of the playbook to success that we've looked at is our LA-driven strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
How do we move the state forward over the next several years to continue to start to compete and then to continue to compete against our southern neighbors for projects and manufacturing and talent. And I think we've, taken as a whole over these couple of years, I think we've taken huge steps forward for our state as we look to grow business here, attract more business here, retain top talent, and then bring back our best and brightest. And so, how we're measuring that is at the end of each session, we look, at the session wins, and we compare it to, our LA-driven strategic plan, which, falls under really four buckets, right? Education and talent supply, economic development, our tax and business climate, and then safety and resilience. We look underneath each one of those buckets, and we see which bills passed underneath each one of those buckets. And both years, roughly about 50 bills have passed that really fall underneath those buckets and are what we call LA-driven approved bills that steer the state towards success.
Okay, I want to start with that if we could. The fact that roughly 50 bills got passed in the 2024 session, which sets the table for this session. I think the biggest note here, Will, and Will Green, President CEO of LABI, is our guest. I think the biggest note here is that from 2024 to 2025, if you are a supporter of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, you did not see any diminishing returns here. You saw the same pace, the same frequency, the same fervor with which to go at things. Even in a fiscal session where you knew bills were going to be limited, you saw the same level of enthusiasm going into this session and the same number of results as well. I think when you have a long-term plan like LA Driven is, when you have a long-term plan, you're not taking, quote unquote, the step in the right direction. You are continuing that path of many steps.
Sure. You want to continue to move forward, right? I mean, one of the things that we've talked about is we in Louisiana, unfortunately, in past administrations and in just in years past, right? We've made some progress, but then we really haven't doubled down. I mean, we haven't continued to move the ball down the field. We've kind of stayed stagnant, and fortunately now we're not seeing some success and then standing still, right? We're continuing to push the ball down the field because that's what other states have done. I mean, you can look at insurance reform in Florida, right? They continue to press and pass significant reforms in Florida over several years. You look at states like North Carolina. I mean, they went in and over several years did tax and infrastructure reform. Georgia just last year did significant insurance reform. Texas had several insurance reform measures, and so states that are successful, they don't just come in for one session, pass a few bills, and then kind of look at themselves and high five and don't go back to the drawing board. I mean, states that are successful, they come back every year and they look at how they can continue to move forward and get better.
All right. That being said, and Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, is our guest. That being said, let's just pick an area where LA Driven has its direction of where we want to go and tackle it here. You care if we start with economic development and what got done this session?
No, I think that was a key spot. I mean, I think a couple of places there, a couple of issues there, right? I mean, funding the site selection, or funding a site selection bank,
mm-hmm.
and then also the other area that I think is going to be really something that's important is the high impact job creation program.
Let's talk about that one. That was Julie Emerson's, and it was a resolution, not a bill, which oftentimes resolutions get overlooked because they don't carry the weight of law outside of the legislature, but this handles things within. So talk about HR 507.
Yeah, so this what we had in the past, and just to kind of take us back to last year, Louisiana Economic Development has roughly 7 or 8 tax incentives that they oversee, and those sunsetted last year and were set to sort of be reworked and modernized to really meet the needs of what employers and what job creators and what just the new age of employee needed, right? As Susan Bourgeois and Secretary Bourgeois at LED and her team kind of dug in and figured out, look, we need to rework LED to be more effective and more efficient, to move at the speed of business, to compete for the Metas and CF Industries and Hyundai steel plants. I mean, how can we be more nimble? How can we move at the speed of business? How can our incentives work better? One of the things they found was the quality jobs program was kind of more of a quantity jobs program, not necessarily a quality jobs program.
Yep.
And so they went back to the drawing board and they created this high impact program, which it'll incentivize qualifying companies to create jobs for Louisiana residents to pay above the parish average wage. And so the benefit percentage is based on the wages paid, and higher wages yield a larger benefit. And so, how it'll compare to the current quality jobs program is that, instead of like an $18 an hour wage, participating companies need to pay at least, I think, around 125% above the average parish wage. And so instead of creating a certain amount of specific jobs, like 5 new jobs, a company only has to create a minimum of maybe like 1 job. And so it'll open up the program to more small businesses. And so, there are other incentives in different parishes, in distressed areas and things like that. There's some tweaks and some programs that kind of fit within that. And so, as you know, Brian, it's a better program that fits the state as a whole, I think, because a quality job in Union Parish might not necessarily be the same as a quality job in East Baton Rouge Parish.
Right.
And so I think tying it to the parish average wage instead of just a specific hourly wage is probably a more true reflection of what is a quality job.
We're talking with Will Green, President and CEO of LABI. I need to make a correction, Will. This was a bill. It wasn't a resolution. I was confused with something else.
House Bill 507.
Yeah,
House Bill 507.
Julie had a busy time this past. We actually had her on Friday, and I was jamming up a couple of different things that she got done. But this one, the way it breaks down, and I love that it's the reimbursable grant. The way they handle this is parish by parish. I feel like it's going to. More people are going to want to line up to take part in this.
Yeah, no, and I think it's going to be, like I said, it'll open it up to more businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a more predictable, fair system. and so again, we're excited about this. It's better for the state. And so again, it's just another way that we are retooling, re-incentivizing, and remaking the Department of Economic Development to hopefully attract more businesses, more talent, keep more talent, grow more businesses here, and move the state forward.
Let's move over to Representative Lacombe had one that was on y'all's list there that would provide for dedication of revenue from carbon dioxide sequestration on state lands and water bottoms. What does this one do?
Yeah, so that's an interesting bill there. It actually, and it's one that I had some of my staff tracking, Brian, and it kind of came up later on in the year. And to be honest with you, it's one that kind of, I'll be honest, it kind of snuck up on me. And so it's one I really actually had looked at and kind of dropped off my radar. And I meant to look at it this morning, Brian, and just, it's one that I hadn't looked at actually.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm gonna. That's one you said that we're gonna have to. There's so many on these things that we're gonna have to get back to later. It's one that I actually had written down to tell you that, man, that's one that I want to get back to you later on to really see what's ultimately going to be the effect of Louisiana on that one.
No sweat. We got about 2 minutes left with Will Green from LABI unpacking the legislative session. Was there anything else on the economic development front that caught your eye?
So, Brian, we talked, I mentioned it a little bit earlier about, one of the things that Secretary Bourgeois has talked about so much is shovel-ready projects, right?
Yes.
I mean, we've got to have shovel-ready projects. Certain predictable businesses need speed to project. And one of the ways that that we can compete with other states that we haven't before is having the site selection fund, having the money there. And so that is for the first time, I think, funded in a pretty appropriate level. I think it's around 150 million, maybe something like that. And so that's something I know the secretary is excited about. We're excited about. And so I think that's going to help us attract more industry to the state, which again grows jobs, it grows business. And so I know that's something the secretary is excited about and we're excited about.
Very cool stuff. I'm looking at the clock, Will, and I want to make sure we're responsible about it here. We got less than a minute to go. Next time we have you on, I want to continue this very same conversation because there's so much to unpack on an education front. Insurance and taxes has been talked about a good bit. That's where we're going to have to pick up the conversation next time. In the meanwhile, if you could just give a letter grade to this legislative session, how do you think our state legislature did this time around?
Yeah, Brian, I've been asked that question a couple of times, and I think it just depends on what industry you're talking to. I mean, if you're talking to the, to business who wanted to address the insurance crisis, they're going to give you one grade. If you're talking to, the energy sector who wanted to move us forward on carbon capture, they're probably going to give you, a totally different grade. If you're looking at the tax climate, obviously one of the biggest priorities there was to try to find a solution to the inventory tax to give us a longer runway on the credit. We didn't get that. And so that would be a lower grade, right? If you're looking at economic development, if that was your priority going into the session, you're probably going to give a high grade.
Yeah.
And so it just, there was so much with a fiscal session. And so it just, if I talk to one of my members one day, they may give it a B. If I talk to one the next day, they may give it a C. If I talk to a different, economic development priority member, they may give it an A. And so it's just such a hard question, Brian, to answer. But I think overall, we took another step forward. Like I said, in the competition for business and industry as we look to compete and to grow. And so overall, I do think it was a success. But Brian, we still got a ton of work left to do, man. I mean, we didn't get all the insurance reform we wanted. We did not get all the tax reform we wanted. And so we're going to continue to go back to the drawing board and look to continue to grow and change and move forward.
That's where we're going to have to pick it up next time. He's Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Have yourself a great 4th of July. We'll talk next week.
You too, Brian. Thanks.
Got it. Debbie responds. Debbie, where would be is there what up? What you doing up here? Oh, okay. Fun. Yes. Don't take one of those. Go up to my office and you look by that big box of mess in my office. Those. I don't know if those are clean, but the ones in my office have never been touched. Directly across from 104.5. I'm the last office on the hall. I'm on 3. Yes. Yeah, but the ones in my office haven't been touched. Have fun. Okay, I need to find a collector's shop. I need to find a place where my son was going through a butt ton of coins and he found 2 that I looked up and they're valuable online. I want to find someplace local he can go in and have somebody who works behind a counter say, yes, this is what this is worth, and then possibly even make him an offer on them. I feel like the airport was one. There's one more that's missing here. Of the live reads. I know Chang's is gone. We got somebody rolling on tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, okay.
A clinic that treats depression and anxiety. Yes. Neurojust is the name of it. Oh, and they're like, this guy who runs this place, Jordan is his name. So they specialize in transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Oh.
Which basically,
kind of like shock therapy?
no. See, that's going to be the first question everybody has. I would position it closer to musical therapy than shock therapy. It's like, so they put this helmet on you and it's like this micro MRI, right? But it's tuned magnetically to help diffuse the brain to where it dials you down. Like, you know how they say that music soothes the savage beast?
Yeah.
Similar. Shock therapy hurts. This doesn't hurt. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Really fascinating stuff. I like that.
7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. If I wait for that bumper to dial back down, we'll just be waiting forever. And it continually gets more frenetic as it goes on. Oh my goodness. Thanks again to Will Green from LABI for hopping on board. And yes, so much to unpack. We'll pick that back up next week for sure. On behalf of the city of Central, Mayor Wade Evans invites you to the Red, White, and Boom celebration, a special Independence Day event marking Central's 20th anniversary. Join us Saturday, July 5th from 5 to 10 p.m. at the Grand Settlement at Shoe Creek for live music, family fun, and a spectacular fireworks show, all free and open to the public. Do not miss this unforgettable night of community pride and patriotic spirit. If you want to learn more about it, Mayor Wade's coming up at 7:35 this morning. He'll be in with us, and I can guarantee you it's always a good time when he stops by. So, man, 20 years of Central. How about it? I've been debating throughout the morning whether, from the time the story first posted till now, whether or not I wanted to do this. And the story posted at our news partners at WBRZ at 6:06 a.m. The headline reads, Auditor says DA's office continues to have significant funding issues. reading from WBRZ. In a report released Monday morning from the Legislative Auditor's Office, officials said the 19th Judicial District Attorney's Office continued to, quote, have significant funding issues, and that to address the issues, the office would likely cut crime prevention efforts. Auditors said in fiscal 2024, expenditures for the office outweighed revenue by approximately $1 million. To make up for the shortfall, the DA's office has depleted the office's reserve fund and is now working on a plan to reduce costs and advocate for increased funding. The auditor said the likely course of action for the DA's office would be to cut the number of assistant district attorneys and the number of community-based crime intervention and prevention programs, but there was no immediate plan to do so. Now, back in May, the parish rejected a property tax that would have funded the DA's office. Quote, we cannot get any better and keep up with technology and clear the backlog unless we have additional staff. We're going to keep grinding as best we can, District Attorney Hiller Moore said after the tax failed. But we are still drowning in cases. We need help. I want to rewind back to the part where, in order to make up for the $1 million shortfall, they are, according to the auditor, likely going to cut the number of community-based crime intervention and prevention programs. I want to flip the script here and ask this question. Whose job is crime prevention? And how would you define crime prevention? But whose job is crime prevention? Let us know over on Facebook Live. We're on Facebook Live every day, courtesy of the great folks over at Lake Urgent Care. Let us know on Facebook Live, whose job is crime prevention? The district attorney's office is there to prosecute. The police department is there, and the sheriff's office are there to arrest. That is their mission. But whose job is crime prevention? And how can we put a number on, like percentage-wise, all parties involved? How can we put a percentage of it? Crime prevention is 20% your job, 20% your job, 20% your job, and across the board. How do we figure out that number? If I'm Hill or Moore, my task is to prosecute the crimes that are in front of me, and it's already a backlog. So do you peel dollars off of crime prevention in order to execute your mission of prosecuting? Same question for police, same question for sheriff. But at the end of the day, whose job is it really? Let's talk over on Facebook Live. On air, news is coming your way. News, traffic, weather. Hour 3 will be up next. John will have This Day in History presented by the folks at 5 Star Printing and Signs. All right, so let's not be dismissive of the question. Let's actually ask the question, whose job is crime prevention? Because I can make the argument that when in a vacuum, if you look at any individual department out there, the answer is not mine. Now, in Sherwood Forest, where I live, we are members of a crime prevention district. We pay extra for those added proactive patrols. But when you have a police department that's short by more than 100 officers, are proactive patrols their job? Or is it responding to 911 calls saying, my neighbor's been shot? When you have those nights out against crime, the bike rides against crime, all the crime prevention, some of them are feel good, some of them actually do good. But when it comes to crime prevention, like, can you look at Hill or Moore and say you're not doing enough to prevent crime? When you see a fire breakout, do you blame the fire extinguisher? The fire extinguisher's job is to put out a fire. To me, the district attorney's office is the fire extinguisher here. Matt says crime prevention is the responsibility of potential criminals. If you put enough consequence on the crime, the criminals should be like, nah, too much to pay for that. See, that works in a world where there's a true risk versus reward analysis here. If you've got a criminal who's level-headed enough, that would absolutely work. Let me refill my water. Yeah, let's have a few more of these Total Wine commercials. Oh, I've got a story to tell y'all. Oh, wait, I hate to distract because I was hoping for some more response on this, but I've got a story to tell. Speaking of crime prevention, I did not do my job last night as a citizen, as a resident. I did not do my job last night. Holy crap. My driver's side front tire was low. And my wife has a pump that you plug into the cigarette lighter to power it. My cigarette lighter in my car doesn't work, so I had to use her car. So pump up my tire, which, by the way, it stayed until this morning, so I think I'm good. But pump my tire back up, and I turn her car off, and I turn my car off, close the door, put her keys back where they go, and I thought I'd put my keys back where they go. This morning, as I'm leaving for work, I go to reach for the key ring, and I leave in the dark. So that, like, I just reach. My keys aren't there.
Oh.
I'm instantly in a panic, okay? You know where my keys were?
Where?
Sitting on the trunk of my car.
Oh.
Car unlocked, keys sitting on the trunk. Nothing stolen up to and including the car.
Yeah.
But how easy would that have been with the keys right there? Not just to the car, but to the house as well.
Whew.
Now, we have a separate lock from the inside once we're all in for the night.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting in the house.
Right.
Nobody's. I treat my house like a fortress.
Oh, yeah.
But I was so surprised that my car was there. Holy crap.
Wow. Yeah. Well, good, man.
Yeah.
Glad you didn't have a different ending to that story.
Right?
Whew.
Also, with the electronic key fob, the fact that the dew didn't soak through it to kill the electronics was another big holy crap. All right, Galen says, perhaps the biggest crime prevention organization is the parents, but they have proven to fail in this endeavor. Next up is education. More discussion about career incomes and lifestyle should be taught. Love that answer. Paul says, pump up the jam? What a ball. Hey, Paul, are we having a 30th? COVID ruined our 25th. Are we having Paul went to my high school. Are we having a 30th? It's got to happen, dude. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. We're starting off your third hour at 79 degrees in Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane continuing. We're going to have everything under the sun with Moon. Moon Griffon hopping on board about 11 minutes from right now. Also this hour, Central Mayor Wade Evans. 20 years of Central. How's that looking? Wade Evans going to join us at 7:35. We got a lot of ground to cover, y'all. This Day in History coming your way in just a second. Of course, This Day in History is brought to you every day by the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs. I need to remind you, as I remember about the phone number all the time, 271-4096, but do I remind you frequently enough about the website, printshop5.com? Printshop5.com, that's where you're going to find 5 Star online. And the reason I want to send you to printshop5.com is all about the merch. Yeah, if you've got your printing needs and whatnot, if you've got, your brochures, your catalogs, your receipts, your menus, your actual signage, Danny's got you covered at 271-4096. But it's important, more important now than ever, to make sure your company is branded the right way. And I mean front and center wherever you can get your logo. For example, every morning I drink my coffee out of a Demco mug, and then I drink my my ice cold water out of a Sadvocate mug. Like I've got, they've got the branding right in front of me all the time. Where's your company in that equation? Are you putting your brand, your logo top of mind? Are you top of mind? Are you front and center? Printshop5.com. You can merch out, man. Whatever it is you're looking for. Cups, pens, can holders, coffee cups, a whole lot more. Printshop5.com. And, oh, by the way, they bring you This Day in History. All right, John.
Let's begin in 1905, where a 27-year-old clerk, Albert Einstein, publishes his theory on special relativity.
Really?
The relationship between space and time in equation E equals mc squared.
He did that at 27?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. What have you done with your life?
Right, exactly.
That's
Man.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
They don't have to put their age, right? Why can't you just tell us?
Right. It was Albert Einstein. Right.
Because what you imagine is the old guy, the mustache. You imagine you have this idea in your head.
Right.
Not at 27.
No.
Like, come on. Man.
Like, 27 years old, you should be a cast member of Jersey Shore.
Right.
Right? 27 years old, you should be running with Ronnie and The Situation and DJ Pauly D and Vinny.
Is that though?
You should be creating a theory of relativity. You should be fist pumping at karma.
Exactly. Albert decided to stay in. He's like, I'm not going to party, guys.
No.
I'm working on something.
Yeah.
Working on something huge
It's the
here.
exact opposite of that.
Oh, man. 1906, U.S. Congress passes the Meat Inspection Act and the Pure Food and Drug Act.
Really?
Yeah. So
how'd that work out?
Exactly, right? I figure it was, yeah. 1908, a giant fireball, most likely caused by the air burst of a large meteoroid or comet, flattens 80 million trees in Russia in the largest impact event in recorded history.
I saw that one. That's I got no clue. I got nothing. I got nothing on that.
Man, wow. Let's see. 1937, the world's first emergency call telephone service is launched in London using the number 999.
Oh, so before there was a 911.
Yeah.
At 999. 999.
999.
999. That's London. Hey, 1 year before that, 1936, Margaret Mitchell published Gone with the Wind.
Oh, okay.
Does that sound remarkably recent? Like, I know Gone with the Wind is set during the Civil War.
Yeah.
So I would just always assume it came out in the Civil War.
Yeah.
Like, ripped from the headlines.
Right.
Gone with the Wind. But no, it was 1936.
Another one that kind of trips me out a little bit, 1952, Guiding Light. The soap opera moves from radio to TV.
Okay, that feels, all right.
Wow.
So 1936 feels new and 1952 feels old.
Yeah.
Like, I associate Guiding Light with, like, my grandmother and her stories.
Right.
Did your grandmother call the soap operas her stories?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why I'm surprised. 52.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that just puts me, like, as a child of the 80s.
Yeah.
That's where I associate Guiding Light.
Yeah.
And Days of Our Lives. And General Hospital.
There you go.
And, she had one more.
As the World Turns, maybe?
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of TV, 1955, The Johnny Carson Show debuts on CBS.
I'm
changing late night television for sure.
Happy I was able to be part of a generation that got to experience Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Because you look at
we just get.
I don't want to sound like the crotchety old man. Back in my day, we had real entertainment. But the crap that's on now.
I mean,
Look,
it's come a long way since Johnny
you
Carson
give me
and
that
then-
run. Like, I'll scroll through TikTok, and when I find Don Rickles on with Johnny Carson,
Yeah.
forget it. That's my next hour.
Oh,
Is scrolling
man.
through Don Rickles on Johnny Carson videos.
Oh, yeah.
Or to go along with that is old school David Letterman.
I was going to say, yeah, of course.
Oh, can't get enough.
David Letterman, and then, on to Conan, and then on to whatever's
Oh,
on
so
now.
I would count Conan as good.
Yeah.
Like, really, really
Oh,
good.
for sure.
But, like, I could live without Fallon.
It's become, it's
But
become really
Jimmy Kimmel,
politicized.
forget that.
Yeah, really politicized. Pre-trial hearings open in L.A. against O.J. Simpson this day in '94.
That's awesome.
Man, let's see. 2019, President Donald Trump becomes the first sitting U.S. president to set foot in North Korea, meeting with Kim Jong-un.
Okay.
That happened as well this day,
All right.
2019.
What you
Anything
got
else
on-
on this day?
No, because my stupid sports email didn't come through today.
Lame.
I know. Totally lame.
Man.
What you got on birthdays?
Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Michael Phelps.
Happy birthday, Mike Tyson. When was Mike Tyson born?
He was 1966.
Okay.
Yep.
Mike Tyson is 10 years older than me. All right, good stuff.
All right.
Yeah, Mike. Yes, you said Michael Phelps, born on this day in 1985.
Yep.
Who
David
else?
Allen Greer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a good
okay.
one.
Yeah, very much.
Let's see who else I got here. I think that might be it as far as yeah. Oh, Sebastian Maniscalco. I like Sebastian. I like his stand up. It's good. What, you don't like Sebastian?
No.
Recently watched a movie with him
Not my cup
about
of
my
tea at all.
father.
Okay.
Him and Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro plays his dad. Yeah.
It's the elongated story.
You don't like the way? Like, I don't know
No,
how.
that
how
was
do you
pretty
even
good.
imitate
No, that was wasn't bad. Oh, and by when I say it wasn't bad, I mean it was horrible. No, it was pretty on point, to be sure. Oh, just he wears
Does
me
it
out.
sound like he's mocking himself, or he's imitating himself?
When you need that
portraying
much
himself?
animation,
Yeah.
it tells me you didn't write.
Yeah. Do you feel like he's just winging it?
Right.
As he's.
Well, no. I feel like the writing could be better.
Yeah.
More succinct. The punchlines could hit harder, but he uses the over-the-top gesticulations and plays off the Italian card. And like I get that end of it. It's just, it's exhausting.
It sounds like it. Oh man. Ooh,
You know where I'm at right now?
Where?
I'm on the River Center's calendar to make sure he's not coming to town soon. I need to turn around and start promoting that.
Make sure it's nothing you have to promote down the road. Oh,
He's
man.
been here a couple times.
Right. You've got to love that.
Oh.
It's like easy. 2 weeks from now, hey, we'd like to welcome
aboard.
We're giving away tickets to Sebastian Maniscalco. He's a fantastic comedian. I love his work. About My Father? It's one of my favorite movies. You don't want to miss this.
Big fan.
You don't want to miss this.
All right.
Oh, man.
Can we pivot to deaths now?
Yeah, let's just, Buddy Hackett.
Oh,
As
now
far
there's
as
a comedian I love.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Buddy
Oh.
Hackett was one of the greats.
Yeah, I got two. Well, that was one, Alfredo Ferrari.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And there's an Italian I love. How
There
about
we
that?
go. Yep.
Yep. And
Good
then,
segue.
you know who died on this day in 1520?
Okay.
Montezuma.
Oh, okay.
Bet you didn't have that one.
Nope.
Nope.
Wasn't on my list.
All right. What day
Or
is
if it was way down there. Look, I've got two that kind of go hand in hand, which is kind of odd. International Asteroid Day and National Meteor Watch Day.
Well, it has to do with that day in Russia,
Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Just beware, man. Just keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes peeled.
Why? Once you can see it, you're done.
Yeah.
I would love to tell you keep your eyes peeled, but it's. I don't think you're getting very far at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to be on the outskirts of that, right? You'd probably want to be as close as you can to it, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be
Let's
like
just
on the
end
outskirts
this.
of that. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You don't want to limp away from it.
No.
No. It's 8:16. It's because then you'd look like Sebastian Maniscalco on stage. It's 8:16 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, we got Moon Griffon next. Paul says another scary fact is that if the insurance company figures out they used your keys to take the car, then they may not cover it. Yeah, think about that for a second. Now, if they broke into your house and stole your keys, I would imagine that's different. But when you're a dumbass who leaves your keys sitting on the trunk. Wow, Galen, that's an awesome
Hey, good
story.
morning, Mr. John. Brian Haldane.
I love that.
Man, not too much. Y'all ready to get into it? Yeah. Yeah, we'll have you up here in about 2 minutes. All right, thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and skip right past the question of which strip club takes a check.
Oh, what?
Read Galen's comment.
Hold on.
Talk about me leaving my keys on my truck. Oh, shit. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Left my keys in the ignition before.
I had some splaining to
See, I've done that one too, Matt. I've done that one too. Okay, Matt, I saw them on, I Googled and they came up. The K&M Collectibles, I think, is where we're going to go. Have you used them before, or did you just do a Google search? I want somebody who's actually physically, like, had a coin appraised or something, if that's possible.
Yeah, because then you worry, like, if they lowball you and like, oh, it's only worth so much, and they turn around, know the real worth of it or something.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh man.
820 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Running a little bit long here. No worries. We got Moon Griffon on with us now. Moon, how are you, brother?
Hey, man, Brian, I'm doing great. I heard coming in today, 61 days for the Tigers kick off football. You know how we go from one sport to the next. So that is a blink, my friend. That is a blink.
Absolutely it is. That's the best part about the run in the College World Series is it reduces that amount of time in between. Because if you think about it, Moon, it's 61 days till kickoff, but it's only like 2-3 weeks until SEC Media Days. And then
No. I talked to your buddy Matt. I've talked to the guys over here,
mm-hmm.
and matter of fact, I went up there and visited with Hester and is it Flynn?
Yeah.
I went visit with them the other day, and they were saying, "Woo, we close," because they love football, and that's such a big part of what they do, and they were so excited because they figured once you got to about the first, get past the 4th of July, it's all football talk. Now it may start with the Saints, but it's going to eventually be LSU, no doubt about it.
Well, the thing about SEC Media Days, though, is there's so much accessibility and so many microphones and so many cameras that you get to talking right away because someone's going to say something stupid.
When is the SEC Media Day? I haven't kept up with that.
I want to say it's week after next.
Okay, so you got to get once you get to the 4th of July. I don't care what anybody says. I love baseball, but it's football season for a lot of people in the South.
Oh, yeah. SEC Media Days will run July 14th through 17th.
Hey, real quick, I know because of heat they'll never do it, but how many people would be upset if kickoff was August 1st? Not that many, would they?
Oh, no. As long as it's at night, I think everybody would be just fine with that.
Yeah, the nighttime deal, I'm going to agree with that.
So we got another week removed from the legislative session. Have your takes on the session evolved any, changed any, differed any from where they first were? Because
go
ahead.
Me and you talked about this. You start seeing things that kind of get concerned. Governor Landry's bragging about the deal they cut with Legacy lawsuit. I don't see that. And some of the oil and gas stuff being celebrated. Number one, they got 27 months to file suit now. I mean, that's over 2 years, which you're going to see a rash of lawsuits come in.
Right.
Number two is the severance tax being cut on oil and gas is great. But what I'm seeing is that it wasn't cut for natural gas. Matter of fact, it may have been raised for natural gas. And if it was, that bothers me because most of the drilling in our state now is dealing with natural gas. So when I start seeing stuff like that, you start reading in between the lines, you back up and go, what's going on? And that's the little things, Brian, that I said. Once the session's over, you got to wait to see how things break down. You know, Cleo, really the thing that upset me the most Friday was the Supreme Court didn't rule on the gerrymandered district, and I think that's bad for the state. I mean, on Garrett Gray's worst day he ever had is better than Cleo Field's best day that he ever had. And so I'm very disappointed that the governor and the legislature gave us that district.
100%. I couldn't agree more, and have been. I've been bitter about it since it happened because it didn't need to happen. And the fact that they're going to walk down the path again, they're going to relook at it or, re-review it or whatever. The fact that it's not such a closed book, I wish they would just pick it up and run with it. But the fact that it's not a closed book tells me we didn't have to do things the way we did them.
Well, first of all, I like the observation closed book. That book should have never been written.
Right.
All they had to do was take a stance, tell Judge Dick, hey, on nothing personal, Judge, we got our district.
Yep.
And you know yourself, the Republicans would have never gave us that district under Bell Evans. Never.
No.
And they didn't give us that district. And so my disappointment is that the district was ever brought up when it didn't need to be. And by the way, the district that they drew with Cleo Fields, the Fifth Circuit threw it out. And then Jeff and Liz and Nancy ran to the Supreme Court and said, hey, we can't do nothing. We can't do nothing about it. It's too late. Well, this may have gave Cleo another term because of time factors, because we got closed primaries in the spring. It may have gave Cleo a whole other term.
That's interesting. That's because, you think about it.
Brian, think about it. We got closed primaries April, May.
Right.
Okay? Nancy Landry, and I like Nancy. Nancy does a good job, Secretary of State. Nancy Landry says by September 15th is the last date.
Mm-hmm.
The court's not even going to look at this case, and they're making this in a bigger case with the equal voting rights that they put on the South. This voting right deal. Clarence Thompson said we need to relook at that because the South is being penalized. So they're making this into a bigger case. So we may not even find out anything to the spring. Well, by that time, 2026 elections will be set.
Right.
The courts don't like to jack with it. So Cleo gets to run in his district probably for another term because of what Landry and the Republicans did. And that blows my mind.
Well, because it's not going to be pushed for before then because it would have to be pushed for by those who pushed for the change in the first place.
Bingo. Right on the money. And guess what? All I'm saying is I'm mad. I was mad about that when it happened. I told them they didn't need to do this. I checked with lawyers that understood this. Anyway, I got Paul Hurd coming on at 10. No matter what anybody thinks of Hurd is very good on the redistricting. This is what Paul Hurd is really good at. He's going to tell us what this means, because there's a bigger version to this now, Brian, and I want people to understand it, and Paul will explain it at coming out of the 10 o'clock break.
Very cool stuff. We're talking with Moon Griffon, host of the Moon Griffon Show. You catch him right here 9 to 11 weekdays, in fact, statewide, 9 to 11 weekdays. Moon, have you had a chance to peruse what the governor has vetoed yet?
No, but a little bit. But I did find something quite interesting. Everything he's vetoed has come out of certain Republican districts. I have not found one veto in a Democrat district yet. I'm not saying it's not there, Brian, because you can't cover everything.
Well,
but Adam Bass, Alan Seaball, Blake Miguez, and Chad Boyer are the only ones I found that got vetoed. He didn't veto a lot. Got vetoed stuff was Republicans, no Democrats, not one.
Okay, but you got to go back and look at okay, how many Democratic bills got their way through. I mean, you're talking about supermajority of Republicans on both sides. How many Democrats got legislation passed? That's going to reduce the number of great.
HB2. HB2 is the fund me bill for everything.
Yeah, it's Julie
Okay,
Emerson.
let me back up.
Right.
HB2 is what I'm looking at, not HB1, not anything else. So if you look at HB2, where all the projects are, what I just told you is an accurate statement, unless he's done something since Friday.
No, he's not veto. That's capital outlay. That's Julie Emerson's.
Yep. But he didn't veto. Cleo Fields got $250,000 for his institute. He didn't veto any of those districts, but he did veto some Republicans.
Oh, you're talking about
And
within
most of those
HB2.
Republicans
Okay.
voted against House Bill 148, which is the slaughter Temple bill.
Yeah, it was. Oh, so you're talking about like within HB2 is you're individually.
Yeah,
I was talking about bills overall.
That's what I mean. I didn't look at all other stuff, but I did look at that.
So it's a pretty decent list of what he actually vetoed across the board. But I'm finding the more I read, the more I'm with him on more than not. It's weird. It's like he had good reason for a lot of them.
Yeah, I hadn't looked at all those. I have to go back because I just hadn't delved in that. I like a veto pen. I think a veto pen's good. But I wish they would do, Brian. And somebody brought this up to me years ago. I wish the first thing we did was do the budget. And then once we got the budget out of the way, then do all the other stuff.
Yes.
Because I think if we do it opposite, and all the other stuff become pawns and back and forth and all that kind of stuff. And I just wish we would change that up.
Yes, because the budget tells you how much you have to spend. We'll figure out where we're going to spend it after we know how much we have to spend. We do it backwards to where we say, here's everything we have to pay for. Now let's figure out our budget, which makes the revenue estimating conference impossible.
I think we would find out our priorities really quick in that if we did it the other way, we flipped it.
Yeah, because then you start asking the question, what are you going to cut instead of? Rather than how do you make up a number from the REC, or how do you make the REC's job that much more difficult on the back end? So it is backwards. Hey, what else you got on the show today?
I got Stephen Paul's going to come on. They're building 2 or 3 carbon capture type plants in North Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of construction jobs. Then it gets down to about 70, 80 jobs, and I don't want to become the cesspool for the country dumping everything down here on us. So I'll visit with him. He'll tell us a little bit more about it in the second segment of the program today.
He is Moon Griffon, coming your way half an hour from right now. Always appreciate the time, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
No, thank you. God bless.
Likewise. We got news, traffic, weather coming your way. After that, can you believe Central's 20 years old already? We're going to talk with Wade Evans. He's the mayor. They got a big event coming up over the weekend, or into the weekend. Red, White, and Boom celebration. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Wade Evans joins us in just a little bit. Right now, though, like I said, ABC News, then our local news, traffic. I'll have weather for you on the back end. We will continue next right here on Talk 107.3 FM. What you say, boss? Come on over. Okay.
Try to go encourage them, remind them it's not them I'm criticizing, it's the system and the process.
Yeah. I feel very positive that Breck's gonna come out the other side strong. Yeah, I think there's a want to be. And, yes. But I know there are those out there who want to piss on everything they do. Breck was, I'm a believer that Breck was good going in, not great. Good going in, not great. But with their destiny more in their own hands, they're going to make better decisions. With Janet, and I think I got Janet and Maurice coming on tomorrow at 8:15.
I'm excited about that tag team duo, and look, excited that they're working themselves out of a job.
Yes.
She understands. Let's go in and fix it.
Yeah.
Make way for a future super.
Yeah. Now, that being said, Breck's a sponsor of the show. So, no, but I'm always very careful to say, like, Okay, if anybody wants to crap on Breck, compare them to any other entity within the parish. You give me Breck versus Council on Aging, Breck's going to win. You give me Breck versus Cats, Breck's going to win. You give me Breck versus, really any other one out there. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the fact that, right. And the fact that they were subject to the state legislature for everything, as opposed to their own citizenry, changed priorities. So. Yeah. Yeah. On air versus in real life. Yeah. You're good. You're good, man.
The engineer over there, you sound exactly the same on air.
Do I? Yeah. Okay. I'll take that as a compliment. Oh. I'm going to be heading up to Central today. That's, my son had the whole big water bottle full of coins, and he saves them up every year and then cashes them in when we go on vacation. Like, does the Coinstar thing when we go on vacation, and saves up enough money for like the whole family to have ice cream or something. It's cool. It's something he likes to do. So we save the coins every year. Well, in counting the coins last year, he found two that really stood out. So I Googled them, and they're worth a couple $100 a piece. So I'm looking for a collectible shop to get them, appraised or valued or whatever. That's exactly where we're going. Okay. And I don't know exactly if my son wants to sell them or just know what they're worth. But I figured this, because I grew up collecting baseball cards. And I still have all my baseball cards. And I need to find a place to unload them. But, like, so that's the part that scares me, is my son likes the Pokemon cards as well, and I don't want to put him in a... That's what I want to...
He's not to go up there, change some hard coins into some Pokemon.
Yeah, I would rather him trade him in for cash, but he's 9, and we're it's learning the value of things, learning the value, and the fact that they caught his eye. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We make them pay for those additional things, like the 17-year-old wants to get a hair done. That's $200.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that. Yeah. I'll pay to have your hair cut. I'm not paying for it to look a certain way.
Right.
You want to go above and beyond, that's something too.
Yeah. So our 17-year-old, who's off to college in a month, like exactly a month, she always stepped up on the driving end, which kind of made she doesn't get a set allowance, but it's like a whatever you need basis, whatever you need, not whatever you want, whatever you need basis, because she's always the first one to step up. Like, Abby's got basketball practice, I'll take her.
My 17-year-old doesn't want to drive. My 20-year-old moved home.
No, I got it. Back to me. All right, time to dig in on that forecast, and things are looking a little bit sunnier than they were for this week at this time on Friday. We've got a 20% chance of rain today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. A high of 91 today, 92 on Tuesday, 93 on Wednesday, so it will be creeping towards warmer. That 20% chance of rain sticks around Thursday and Friday as well, and it'll creep up to 94, 95. Now, that being said, you know how it works in South Louisiana in June and early July. A 20% chance of rain basically means we're going to catch a 15-minute monsoon somewhere. So be on the lookout for that as we make our way through the day. You just can't predict where at any given point. To go along with that high of 92 today, we are looking for very, very little wind, maybe a 4 to 5 mile per hour breeze over the course of the day. And the humidity is out there, y'all. We're at 86% humidity right now. That'll pare down a little bit as the day wears on, but expect the feels like temperature to remain at 10 to 11 degrees above the actual temperature. Right now, sunny skies, 82 feels like 91 in downtown Baton Rouge. Moist. 8:38 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Coming up this weekend in Central, kind of a big deal here. Red, White, and Boom. Yeah, it is. It's Red, White, and Boom, Saturday, July 5th from 5 to 10 p.m. The Red, White, and Boom is a special Independence Day event marking Central's 20th anniversary. We got Wade Evans, the mayor of Central, in the house with us. Wade, how are you, man?
I'm good, Brian. I'm wonderful. I'm excited to be here.
You should be excited for what's coming up this weekend. I mean, this is a big deal.
This is a big deal. We started Red, White, and Boom in my first year as mayor.
Okay.
Said, we need to have a celebration every year for our city.
Agreed.
And I'm just fortunate enough to be the mayor at this time when we're going into our 20th year and celebrating what guys who came before me had a vision. And I tell people all the time I stand on the shoulders of giants. Getting to celebrate 20 years as a city is monumental.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about rewinding the clock a little bit, and just give me a couple of the key points along the way, those timeline points along the way that kind of mark Central's growth.
Something that was so unique about Central was when we became a city, we decided to do it unlike any other city. And so the typical bureaucrat system that gets built with government doesn't exist in Central. Right. So we formed public-private partnerships. We have a service provider that answers directly to me, which as the chief executive is my role to make sure all contracts and ordinances are upheld. And so we've been able to do this very efficiently and create systems that other cities are now able to model, whether they're a new city like St. George or an existing city like the city of Baton Rouge. You can replace segments of your system with the system we use, and it works well. It's easily scalable.
Oh, and that was going to be my follow-up question. Not to step too far away from Central here, but East Baton Rouge, or Baton Rouge within East Baton Rouge Parish, Baton Rouge is looking at a crossroads right now.
Yeah.
Having 5 cities within the parish and learning very quickly, you have to be a little more self-reliant. How much of what Central is doing, or how much of what Central has, and now St. George are doing, is scalable up to the city of Baton Rouge's level?
It's 100%. Now, you do have an issue with existing pension plans.
Sure.
And so when I was on the transition team for the mayor, and we made some really good recommendations to start the process to look at the future. What is it going to take to make sure the retirement is solvent in perpetuity until it's done?
Right.
And that requires actuaries and people smarter than I am. But, do we look at a bond now to shore it up and let any future employees be on a new system, which is a defined contribution plan versus a defined benefit? Because people aren't staying anyway.
Right.
And so right now at the city parish, you have a lot of people who've been there a long time and not a whole lot of people who are just coming in, because the attrition rate is too high with the lower levels.
Yeah.
And so it's creating a system that's viable in the future.
The retirement liability is one thing. The work environment's another one. This is, I mean, we see it now with everything from the police department to public works. We see it in education. We see it everywhere where we're just shorthanded.
We've created a system that relies upon itself to sustain itself, and we've lost sight of the mission, which is service. And so, our job as leaders is to encourage that servant leadership mindset. And ultimately, it doesn't matter who delivers the service as long as the service gets delivered.
Right.
And so continuing to do things as we've always done, expecting different results, things.
The definition of insanity. Yep, it absolutely is.
So, I'm excited about everything, but more importantly, Central being a model community, we're nimble because we don't have all the overhead, and so we're able to make decisions and move quickly, which in government's difficult enough because of the rules that you have to follow.
Right.
But we're able to do things that are innovative and be a testing ground. And now there are areas like Lafayette Parish, Ascension Parish, and other areas that are watching what we do, trying to implement them as far as legislation, flood stuff, watershed controls. So we're able to be innovative and basically create the model where other people can follow it.
What are the biggest wins of the last 20 years?
Our school system.
Yeah.
We became a city for the school system, and I jokingly tell people for 17 years we ran it as a city just because of a school system. But at some point you have to realize you're a city, and you have to start thinking like a city in a sense of how do we stay vibrant? How do we continue to grow, but not so much so that it is a detriment to our schools? How do we update things in our city? If you live in a house, but you don't do the maintenance, the house will fall down around you. Same thing with the city. And so, we're catching a lot of flack right now because of the road work that we are doing. And, which is, it's laughable to me because we've become so accustomed to not fixing things. Now that we're fixing them, people are inconvenienced.
Right.
And now they're upset about the inconvenience. And so, mitigating that is tough.
Funnily enough, this is humorous here. The Sadvocate.
I love that person. They will stay unnamed.
Absolutely, they will. However, they're in the chat right now on Facebook. It says, "Hey, tell the mayor I'm listening while stuck on Wax Road."
Well, that's their fault for not following the guidance to avoid the Wax Road. I mean, look, everybody knows, and the cool thing about Wax is it's a road that cuts through the middle of the city. However, there are roads that go around Wax that while your drive may be longer in length, it will be shorter in time.
Yeah.
So look, you got 25,000 cars a day. You got to shift the mindset of those 25,000 people.
Well, that's never easy to do that.
No.
I mean, if you have an accident on the interstate and traffic's jammed up, it's just Baton Rouge traffic.
Right.
I don't care. They're going to sit in that traffic on the interstate all day long as opposed to taking an alternate route.
Right.
If you've got coming into downtown Baton Rouge, the number of people who get stuck on Florida or government, with North Boulevard has an overpass.
Yeah.
Like for a train, like they'll get stuck for a train rather than take the alternate route that has. It's just alternate routes are not an immediate thing. I know. It's crazy.
I mean, look, I'm guilty. I'll leave my neighborhood to go bring a kid to school and totally miss the turn because I'm going to City Hall in my mind. So it's just we're creatures of habit.
Creatures of habit. All right. If the school system is the biggest win, what's been the biggest? I don't want to say failure because you're built to be amenable. What's the biggest challenge that you've had to pivot to?
Well, the biggest challenge is, for years we were a bedroom community and people are very comfortable with that life. But as a city and with the area around you changing, you have to change. And so the hardest thing is helping people understand that change is necessary. And I do it quite simply by asking them what is not changed in their life in 40 years.
Right.
And 20 years even. I mean, you can look in the mirror every day, and if you take a snapshot, you see you change. Everything around you changes. And so to think that a city full of things that change will not change is kind of silly.
And I'm sure the pushback to that is, but I moved out here so I wouldn't have to.
And when somebody tells me that, I remind them that when they moved there, they changed our city.
Also, wow, well done. Very well done. we've got an event coming up on Saturday. Mayor Wade Evans is in with us. Central's Mayor Wade Evans. Let's talk a little bit about the Red, White, and Boom celebration. What y'all got going on?
Well, it's a big community event. We got 3 bands. We got Stone Sober Band, Whiskey Row Band, and Press One for English. I wish we didn't have to press one for English, but since we do, we're going to have the band. We'll have a rock wall, mechanical bull, bouncy houses for children 6 and under. We're putting the 6 and under on there for a reason. You can imagine.
Okay.
With every disclaimer comes a lesson. There'll be other games in community tents, face painting. You have a 360-degree photo booth, and just more importantly, it's an opportunity for us as a city, no matter how big we grow to continue coming together as a community to enjoy ourselves with each other.
How far away have we gotten from that model? How far away have we gotten from that mindset?
I believe we've gotten far away from it because we get in our silos as citizens, and we're comfortable. I mean, think about back in the day, houses had front porches. Today they have back porches and backyards. And as a society, we develop neighborhoods to entertain in our backyard.
Yeah.
We don't have that mindset where we come together as a community. And so a lot of it is because of how we've done things. And so we have to reimagine that. And that's part of what Main Street 2030 is all about in the great city of Central.
We only have a minute and a half until break. Can you stick around
Yeah.
for the back end?
I can stay here till 9, baby.
We got a 4-minute segment on the back end. I want to talk about Main Street 2030 if we could.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Hang tight right there. Before we get you to break, before we get you your money now and then a break, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. You know where to find them. They're downtown on 3rd Street. They're in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center directly across the street from Tiger Stadium, which is important in 60 days. We've got the original location. They're back in their original location, Highland Road, just west of Kenilworth. All 3 locations of Mathern's. You have access to the Mathern's Rewards app. I cannot recommend this app enough, y'all. I earn cash towards more groceries every time I shop. So I'll stop in at the Mathern's, probably the one on campus. That's where I'm at the most. That's my normal location. Whether I'm picking up just something to eat while I'm working LSU or I'm picking up a couple groceries that I was supposed to bring home with me anyway, I scan the app while I'm there, and I earn cash towards more groceries. I also get to take advantage of the deals of the week every week, whatever they've got going on sale. Like right now, getting ready for the 4th of July, ground beef is $3.99 a pound. Chicken wings are $1.99 a pound. You got the 3-pound box of Veron sausage for $11.99. Chicken leg quarters, 99 cents a pound. Short ribs, $2.99 a pound. They've got you, St. Louis style ribs, $2.99 a pound. They've got you covered on all fronts over at Mathern's, and it's all available right through the app, and it's good at all 3 locations. Downtown on 3rd, Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, or Kenilworth, Highland, just west of Kenilworth. All right, Central's Mayor Wade Evans going to stick with us through the break here. I see a question posted up on the Facebook chat. We'll talk about that as on air we hit Your Money Now on Talk 107.3 FM.
What's the Facebook chat looking like?
Courtney says, can someone explain the new apartments on Hooper that are out of our district, don't pay our taxes, and able to use the central schools?
Well, they do, in fact, pay our taxes.
Okay.
They pay taxes to the central school system. And so you have city lines and you have school board lines.
Okay.
And we're actually, we have a group of citizens petition us right now to annex all the way to our school board lines, which I'm very interested in doing.
To make the school district match the city.
To make the city match the school district. Yeah, Senator White actually had a bill to cut them out, and I'm like, that's not fair. 17 years they've paid in, we're gonna cut them out because, I mean, let's we have a circle around our logo.
Yeah,
because everybody's welcome.
Yeah. Okay. That's the
and that comment is that's a great example of that mindset. That developer and those people who ultimately buy those houses, they're not apartments, they're houses.
Okay.
Again, miscommunication. Look, social media is terrible about that. I mean, why don't they work at night on Wax Road? Okay, well, imagine living there and hearing the machines rumbling all night.
Oh, no kidding.
I mean, your street's already a mess during the day when you got to go out. Now you don't sleep either. You got the lime plant, the soil cement plant. They all have to stay open at night. You can't. It's not feasible.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, think about it. We see interstate work at night because you got a little bit of separation there. You got separation. You got
Yeah,
sound
because
walls.
you got 80,000 cars during the day or 20,000 at night.
Right.
You
Volume.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and DOTD doesn't want to work at night on these types of roads.
Well, wouldn't it also, because when you're talking about interstate work, the timeliness of it is important, but when you're talking about getting off the interstate, the payroll is important.
Well, you run up shift diffs, which cost more.
Right.
And so it's just not feasible.
Understood.
But yeah, we should be going to council once they finish their work, the citizens in that area.
Yeah.
To appeal to us to annex them in.
And that's how it has to work. They have to ask y'all.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. 51% of the property owners. We got.
Oh, I love Central. Damn, Wade was just trying to get clarification. The same person who asked.
Well, at least they got. Now you clear. Now you clear.
That's so good.
Well, look, I mean, my phone number's out there. Anybody can call me and ask me anything they want. I love hard conversations.
Courtney is the person who posted that. By
Courtney,
the way.
okay, I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Courtney.
It's so good.
Well, I mean, look, it is what it is.
No, but what I love is this is the dialogue you lose when you have politicians who want to stay behind the curtain.
No, look,
and
I
appreciate.
I'm that guy.
Yeah, but
and I love
I'm on
that.
board with Courtney.
Yeah,
because it's like it's people. It's always been people.
I gave a pep talk to the Wax Road crew this morning and reminded them of Luke 23:34. Forgive them, Father; they know not what they do.
Beautiful.
You know, you guys out here doing the work.
Yep.
You know, the people who come through here, they don't understand the process. They just know they're inconvenienced.
Right.
And so don't let them get at you. It's, you know, you got to be prepared. And in politics you are, because people talk about you and say things that, truth be damned, but it doesn't matter to me.
Anytime somebody starts something with my truth, I tune them out immediately.
Yeah.
We're done
Yeah.
here.
I deal in all truth. The truth.
The truth. I don't need my truth.
Yeah, we were handing out baby Jesuses, or not baby. We were giving a little Jesus to everybody Friday morning. I handed out about 200 of them.
Them little bitty.
And I just tell them, look, I'm out here. I want to give you a little Jesus. I want to apologize for the delays and thank you for your patience. And I was overwhelmingly surprised at how nice the people were. There were a few that were ugly, but you know,
always will
I can't fix it.
And the real butt of it is they're uglier because you were kind and they weren't expecting that.
Well, it's a reflection of them.
Right. But there's like, well, damn it. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted a reason to stay mad.
Right. Now I got to keep shouting or else I lost the argument.
That's it.
And yeah, it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote that I always lean on. It's not the critic who counts, but the man in the arena. That whole passage. Yeah, it's basically you have the person, and we're only on Facebook Live right now, so I can say it here. You have the person who puts their nuts on the line, and then the person who insults their nuts. And I don't want to be that second person ever.
Yeah, look, when I went and met with the guys at Breck this morning, I went to the North Laydown Yard on Plank Road intentionally to meet with them and reassure them that my criticism of Breck has never been about them.
Right.
It's been about the process.
Right.
It's been about the system. And so I reminded them that they are the solution to the processes in the system once we get it straight, because they'll be the ones that carry it out. So I'm all about, you know, elevating the people that do the work.
Yes.
Without them, I'm nothing.
We get further that way. Unbelievably so.
Yeah. I was waiting. We did that CBS national news piece, and they were setting up in my conference room, the studio.
Wait, when was this?
2 weeks ago. Oh, man, we spent a whole day in Central with a full production crew from.
When's it air? When did it air?
It aired last Monday.
Okay.
Anyway, Maurice Dubois was the correspondent.
Okay.
And we were sitting there and he said, look, the talent's 30 minutes out. talent sitting here, baby. What are we waiting on?
8:56, rolling over to 8:57. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We got less than 4 minutes left with Central's Mayor Wade Evans. All right, Main Street 2030. What is this?
Man, well, Central has been a city 20 years, but we have no identity because we were a bedroom community, a suburb of Baton Rouge. And so Main Street 2030 will help us to create the downtown corridor along Sullivan Road, the long-awaited project of Sullivan Road, which is making tremendous progress right now and will be done next March, April. City Hall will be finished next March, April. The Wax Road will be finished in November. So we're going to have a block party next March, April.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a second line down the middle of the road when we open it up.
But that's 2026. What about? I mean,
so 2030. The reason 2030 is because there's a big flood control component in Main Street 2030, and there's some connector streets and other things that are part of it.
Gotcha.
And my goal is to get enough of it done to, if I don't serve more than 2 terms, the future elected officials will have to finish it.
Okay, understood. In our remaining minute and a half, let's run down the particulars for this weekend one more time.
Stone Sober Band, Whiskey Row Band, Press 1 for English. There'll be plenty of kid entertainment. There'll be plenty of food options. Just come out, be a part of something bigger than yourselves, be a part of the community. We welcome everybody in Central.
The Grand Settlement at Shoe Creek.
That's the green space at Shoe Creek, where all of the where the long-awaited walk-ons will be opening shortly.
Okay.
As well as the other new stuff in that development. Every street is a parking spot. There's parking spots everywhere. There's plenty of places. Just because you can't park right up front doesn't mean you can't join us. It wouldn't hurt some of us to get out and walk a little bit anyway.
With all the festivities, to be sure. Saturday, July 5th, 5 to 10 p.m., Grand Settlement at Shoe Creek.
Oh, I missed. We're going to blow up a bunch of fireworks.
Oh, yeah, it is Red, White, and Boom after all.
That's
Red,
where
White,
the boom.
Boom.
We're going to bring the boom.
Okay, yeah. Almost forgot about that. Then kind of the headliner, bearing the lead on there.
Yep.
He is Central's Mayor Wade Evans. Thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Courtney, on Facebook. We appreciate
great
you.
dialogue during the break back there. That's going to do it for us today. Moon Griffon's coming your way next. Of course, after Moon, we got Brian Kilmeade and then the Dave Ramsey Show. We will be back at it tomorrow. Got a full slate already. Probably going to talk with Congressman Troy Carter. I'm sure he's not going to like the big, beautiful bill, but we'll talk to him about it nonetheless. And, another entrant in New Orleans' mayor's race? Yeah, that's going to be a topic, too. Join me tomorrow. Right now, Moon's next. All right, Facebook, we're getting out of here for the day. Thank y'all so much for playing along. Thank you, Mayor Evans. Always appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
And we will see y'all soon.